Hey guys, welcome in. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. And we start today with obviously the horrible news yesterday that our good friend, and I say our good friend because he meant a lot to a lot of people, Matt Bair, WIBC radio star, traffic maestro, and a great friend to many people, passed away yesterday at the age of 48. And I posted this yesterday, and it's true for Matt, and there's many people like Matt. There are certain people where you wish they could live long enough to read how people responded to their passing. There's people in this world who mean so much to so many people, and they never see it, and they never appreciate it. And Matt Bair was one of those guys. And I told him this on multiple occasions, and Matt was such a humble, good person that he would always just brush it off. And I told him two things. I said, and it was absolutely true, and I think yesterday, I think the overwhelming response, not only from the WIBC audience as it exists today, but the WIBC audience that has been proved it. I mean, there are people who have not listened to WIBC for a very long time, and they came out in response yesterday, mourning the passing of Matt Bair. And I told Matt Bair this on multiple occasions. I told him two things, and it's absolutely true. I said, you are, number one, the most liked person, not just on our floor in our building. You are the most liked person by our audience, and you are the most important person on this radio station. Because Matt Bair was the unifying thread for close to a decade across all the shows. No matter where you were or sort of what segment of the day you were listening, save for the very midday, there's a good chance you heard Matt Bair. And he was always, even if he was giving you bad information about traffic, he was giving you useful information, and he was doing it in a way that entertained you. It made you laugh. It made you feel comfortable. Like, who else can say that about a guy who did traffic? Matt Bair, and like I say this from my own perspective, there would be times in the afternoon you'd be driving, and there would be some sort of traffic calamity, and Matt Bair would tell you about it. If they got to the traffic break ahead of time, you could avoid it. But even if you were stuck in it, you felt like you had someone to commiserate with. And that was one of Matt Bair's many gifts, is that he was so damn talented. He had the ability to make traffic a traffic report, something you looked forward to, something you anticipated, something like, I can't, not just because you wanted the traffic, that's important, but the way he did it. You felt like you had a traffic advocate with Matt Bair, somebody who understood your plight. A lot of times with musicians, they're popular based on a sense of identity, the things they write about, the things that they sing about. You gravitate to musicians that you have some level of identifiability with. And with Matt Bair, you had the identifiability that you felt he hated your traffic predicament as much as you did, which was ironic because the guy lived like 3 minutes from the radio station. And he came and went after all the traffic had come and gone. But that's who Matt Bair was as a person. He was a guy who loved people. He was a guy who cared about others. You know, I heard this from multiple people over the past 24 hours, and it was how Matt Bair never forgot a name, and he always made new people in the building feel welcome, no matter how integral they were to WIBC. Whether you were some new on-air talent or you were somebody who was hired to run the board on the weekends, Matt always knew people's names and he made them feel welcome. And those two things are very rare in our business. You know, I think about like to the relationship with the audience. You know, when we did those nights with WIBC and, you know, each show would get up and do a 15 to 20 minute skit or performance for the audience. The guy who every year we did those got the biggest ovation was Matt Bair. And in some real sense, and, you know, I was thinking about this last night because it's sort of a weird thing where you work with a guy for almost 10 years and then you kind of don't see him for 8 months. And Matt and I had an opportunity to text on a couple of things over the past few months, but not the way, you know, you used to communicate. You know, the thing about Matt Bair was that every member of the audience could see themselves as him and he could see themselves as them. And I told somebody this earlier that it sort of feels like part of WIBC went with him. And I think it's different. Like when talent leave, you know, that's different. That happens in our business. People get hired, people get fired, people come, people go. And no one person is ever bigger than a radio station. But who Matt Bair was as a human being is simply irreplaceable. He was a better human being than I could have ever hoped to be. And one of the things that I so admired about Matt, and I was, you know, many conversations, obviously, yesterday with people that knew Matt, people that had worked with Matt, was, and I told him this on air multiple times, and the same thing is true about Ryan Hedrick. And obviously Matt and Ryan Hedrick, and please keep Ryan Hedrick in your prayers, WIBC newsman, because he was very close with Matt. Matt Bair and Ryan Hedrick opened their world, the darkest parts of their world, to everyone and exposed themselves and threw themselves in front of everyone so that other people might not only have a better life, but live. The Supporting Sobriety podcast that Matt and Ryan did together, which is now, and rightfully so, nominated for a Marconi, which is awesome, and I hope it wins, helped so many people. It helped so many people not just get clean, get sober, but even be willing to admit, I have an issue, I have a problem. And there are a lot of people, and this is not an over-exaggeration, It is not over the top to say there are many, many, many people out there right now who are alive because of those two guys. And their commitment, not just on that podcast, but in their personal existence to helping others get clean, get sober, live productive lives. And that's very rare in our industry because you are so public on the entertainment side of what you do. A lot of people, myself included, you kind of cut off your personal life. You have to have something for yourself, And so in my case, it's my personal life. I don't, I'll talk a little bit about my wife, a little bit about my kid, but not a lot. And that's by design. In the case of Matt Bair and Ryan Hedrick as well, those guys were willing to. They so loved the audience. They so loved people that they were willing to talk about, expose, go into detail about not only their personal lives, but really what other people might consider embarrassing, humiliating, low points of their life. And they talked candidly about it. And they had both come so far in their journey with sobriety that it was second nature to them. And I talked about that with Matt multiple times about how much I admired that, because so many people in our industry are so guarded about their personal lives, especially things that might be embarrassing or might be humiliating or the thing might be used against them. And Matt and Ryan as well, they didn't see it that way. They saw it as a duty, an obligation to help others. And if their experiences could help others, they were willing to do it. And I told them both that multiple times, that I was just blown away at their willingness to give of themselves and put themselves out there so that others might succeed, so that others might have a better life. That's who Matt Bair was. Our industry, I'm talking media as a collective, it's radio, television, podcasting. It's a pretty cutthroat industry because there are a limited amount of jobs, a lot of people who want them, and the employer, if you have one, can be very picky and leverage that to basically make you subservient to the company. And so you have a lot of people in the media industry, and again, I'm talking radio, I'm talking television, I'm talking podcasting, that are very hesitant to ever help somebody else. It used to not be that way. There used to be a level of pride in helping others grow in the business, in helping others succeed because someone helped you. Someone, when you were coming up, gave of themselves, taught you, educated you, mentored you. That really doesn't exist very much anymore. But it did with Matt Bair. In that building, there was no kinder person. There was no person more willing to help somebody else, to put in a good word for somebody else, to mentor somebody else than Matt Bair. Matt Bair was an American success story. He faced horrible tragedy. He had horrible things happen to him, but he came out of it better than ever. And he never blamed anyone but himself. In all the conversations I had with Matt about his journey to and achieving and succeeding at sobriety, he always put it back on himself. And he basically said, I created this. It's my job to fix it. And he went through that process. And I know he shared that with others who were in that same journey. We get the gift, whether it's here or whether it's WIBC or people that are on television, we get the gift of interacting with you. That's the best part of the job, or at least it should be. For anybody that is actually good at this, they should love interacting with you. They should love entertaining you. But few people go beyond. And I put put myself in this category. I'm looking in the mirror when I'm saying this. Few people go beyond. I mean, you have a personal connection. I always talked about, the bond with the audience is what matters most. The bond with you guys. And it exists in this world. But few people in our business go beyond this world to make a difference in the personal lives of the audience the way Matt Bair did. There's no replacing him. And you can't say that about hardly anybody else in this business. He was a phenomenal human being. He was a great friend. He was an incredible talent. And it is and I don't say this lightly, it is a loss of immeasurable proportions. Not just to WIBC, but to the city of Indianapolis and to central Indiana. Our society desperately needs more Matt Bairs in the world, in all walks of life. And when you lose one, it's bad anytime. But especially someone at such a young age, with so much opportunity in front of them, and so many more people that could have been helped. I come back to kind of how I started this. There are certain people that really deserve, after they pass, one more day to be able to have read what people thought of them while they were alive, to know the impact they had. And I think a big part of Matt not fully appreciating it was the humility that he had. He never saw himself as a star. He never saw himself as important. He never saw himself. And I told him this many times. I was like, you got to shape up, man. You are the most important person and you are the most liked person in this building. He never saw what he meant to you people. And I was having a conversation, in fact, with somebody who'd worked with Matt for years about just this. And it's a damn shame. And for his family, I hope they see it and I hope they know it. And I hope wherever Matt's at, he sees it and he knows it now, because he didn't appreciate it enough in life, and there will be no replacing Matt Bair. I want to tell one funny Matt Bair story. So the old, but not the building they're in now, but the old Emmis building, 40 Monument Circle. It was a very large building, 7 stories. The top floor we weren't allowed on. That was for Mr. Smolian and Emmis Inc. But the rest of the floors, you had a key card. You could kind of come and go as you pleased. And WIBC was on the 4th floor. And, obviously those properties were Hank, 97.1, the country station, The Fan, 93.5 and 107.5, B1057, and WIBC. And over the time that I was at Emmis, they kind of were unwinding properties. They had a digital media company that they ended up not pursuing. They had Indianapolis Monthly, which they ended up, I believe they sold that off. It ended up being a much smaller company by the time they sold the radio stations than when I first showed up there as a fill-in guy in 2016. And so, especially during the COVID years, space was abundant. There was like all sorts of space. And that changed after Urban One bought them, because they had a bunch of radio properties that they brought in afterwards. So there was not nearly as much space after they bought us. But during the Emmis years, especially during COVID, it was basically a ghost town. Every floor, because there were only a few people that were coming to work, it was basically a ghost town. And you guys may remember that I had a very back office. It was the old Chicks on the Right office, and then I was in the back with Terry Stacy. And I think that was at a point where Terry was doing a lot of work from home stuff too. So there was a period of time where there were basically like nobody on the floor, period. And then especially in the office that I had after the chicks left, I stayed in the back. So I had all my stuff back there. And you guys remember those pictures of all the gifts you guys would send we had posted up. And so I had like my own little world back there. So even after the chicks left, I didn't move up to the front office for a long period of time. But Matt obviously had such a weird schedule because he would come in the morning. He'd be there. He'd get there 5:30 or whatever. And then, he'd leave about 9:30. And then he'd come back, do the afternoon show, and he'd be there late into the evening. And it was amazing. He was able to keep that schedule up all those years. And so Matt used to like to mosey around the floor in between traffic hits. But, he was there by himself. He didn't really have anything to do. And so he used to like to walk around the floor, and he'd, with Matt, there were some people like, I don't know if I want this guy moseying around the floor. I don't know if I want this guy unsupervised. Matt was as honest as the day was long. You never had to worry about locking your door or Matt stealing your stuff. He just was bored. He was looking for stuff to do, stuff to see, whatever. So Matt used to, just mosey around floors, and he'd walk in the office back there and all sorts of stuff. And when I first met my wife, girlfriend at the time, she worked on the 7th floor. She worked for corporate Emmis. She was a IT person for corporate Emmis. And I think I've told this story before, but the way I first met my wife was, used to be, now this is how much radio's changed in a very short period of time. Every floor in Emmis used to have its own IT person. That never, ever happened ever again. But they used to have their own IT person. And the IT person for WIBC's floor left. And so they weren't ready to hire somebody or going to hire somebody or whatever. So they sent her down because she worked for corporate. And they said, just you go down to the 4th floor until we figure out what we're going to do. And you can handle that for those people. And that's how I met my wife, was she was the fill-in IT person. And so, I had that office back there, and every so often, after work hours, because, we worked in the same building, you might go back to the office and have a little interpersonal reaction, little engagement, nice to see you type of stuff. And one day we're back there because there's nobody else on the floor, right? And before she goes home and I go home, and we're in there greeting each other, for lack of a better term. And here comes Matt Bair. And he walks in, and he's so embarrassed. And he goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And he runs away. It's like walking in on your parents or something. And everybody was fully clothed, Jason. But he runs away. So I'm like, oh, poor Matt. So I see him the next day at work. I come in and go in to see him. And I used to always go in, and Matt Bair was one of the first people I would talk to. And I walk up to him and say, hey, man, how's it going? He goes, man, I just want to tell you, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. And I said, no, man, it's, no big deal at all. And he looks at me, he goes, I just wanted to tell you, nice job, man. I'm proud of you. That was the sort of guy Matt Bair was. He was a phenomenally great human being. He was a friend. He was a great coworker. And I hope the lasting legacy of Matt Bair is that everybody else strives to be like Matt Bair. To love other people, to help other people, to take pride in knowing other people, no matter what their level of importance was in the building. And so to all the folks at WIBC, I know they're having a horrible time. We're thinking of you guys. And to Matt Bair's family, we're thinking of you. And to all of you today who consider Matt Bair to be like family, want to let you know that you're not alone. There's a lot of people that are really upset and are really going to miss Matt. And he was a phenomenal human being. And Matt, I think it's safe to say, Matt would want you to take from his life those things that I laid out. What can you do to help others? How can you give of yourselves to make others around you, your friends, your family, your community, have better lives? Matt Bair, we'll miss you, brother. A life well served. You were the best. We'll take a break. We'll be back. A lot more to get to. Indiana news, politics, and government. When we come back, you're watching Rob Kendall Show. Do you have a dog but don't have a fenced-in yard? Your HOA won't allow a fence? Worried about having to watch your furry friend anytime you go outside? Avoid the blazing hot summers and freezing cold winters with All-American Dog Fence. All-American Dog Fence is the cost-effective, easy-to-use, in-ground fence system to keep your dog secure and give you peace of mind anytime they're outside. All-American Dog Fence backs their Pet Stop products with a lifetime warranty. Call or text All-American Dog Fence at 317-862-6606 or visit their website at allamericandogfence.com. Mention the Rob Kendall Show and get $200 off a new installation.
DC politicians don't care. Buying stocks with insider information, they get filthy rich. But if you did it, you'd get locked up. Thankfully, there's one fighter on our side. Senator Todd Young is pushing to ban all congressional stock trading forever. He's never traded a single stock while in Congress. Young's a Marine who does the right thing. Contact Senator Todd Young. Thank him for standing up for us and for fighting to ban congressional stock trading.
Buying a home or thinking about refinancing? Work with someone local who understands the central Indiana market. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps homebuyers and homeowners explore options for purchasing, refinancing, or even consolidating higher interest debt through their mortgage. Gary's approach is simple, clear advice, and personalized guidance, so you can make confident decisions. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more or get started today. You've got nothing to lose but dollars on your mortgage payment. So call for a free, no-obligation quote, 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow, NMLS number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Indiana news, politics, and government you're not going to find anywhere else. Yesterday, a massive win for common sense with the Indiana Supreme Court. They have agreed to take the case where we're going to determine if you actually have a right to have your vote counted or not in the state of Indiana. This case is so much bigger than a state Senate race. Like, there's the race itself, and the ruling that the Supreme Court's going to have will decide who wins a state Senate seat between Spencer Deary and Paula Copenhaver. That's one part of it, and that's a big deal. But then there's the other part of it, which is what they're going to rule on, what the Supreme Court is going to hear about these ballots that were passed, that were thrown out by the Recount Commission, costing Spencer Deary the election. The bigger thing here is whether or not in the state of Indiana, you actually have a guarantee that if you vote the right way, your ballot's going to be counted. So let's remind everybody, and then we'll talk about what the Supreme Court said yesterday, which I interpreted this as good news, but you never know what a court's going to do. This was the first step in that. But let's remind everybody of what happened here. I know we have a lot of new viewers coming and going. Don't forget, you can help us out here on the Rob Kendall Show. Like, share, and subscribe. 3 ways you can help us grow the Rob Kendall Show. Number 1, if you haven't done so yet, if you're liking what we're doing today, give us a little thumbs up. Whether you're watching live or on demand on YouTube, thumbs up. You know, we're on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, all of those places as well. Leave us that 5-star review. Share it out. If you got a Facebook, if you got a YouTube, or rather a Twitter, let people know there's a program. It's dedicated to Indiana news, politics, and government. Share it out. Facebook, Twitter. That really helps us. And last but certainly not least, whatever program you're consuming us on, subscribe to that channel, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Apple, iHeart, Spotify. If it's all of them, like, share, subscribe. That's how you can help us grow the Rob Kendall Show. Okay, so Senate District 23, 6 counties, Lafayette area, comes down to 3 votes in the primary. Spencer Deary, the incumbent, defeats Paula Copenhaver. And they work through the recount process, and heading up to a select amount of ballots being challenged, Deary maintains a 3-vote lead. As part of those ballots being challenged, Copenhaver wanted to put like 11 people under oath and force them to testify how they voted. And the recount commission said, no, you can't do that. Then, however, in another hearing, the recount commission threw out about 8 ballots in favor of Spencer Deary. 6 of those ballots, Deary is essentially claiming, we had Spencer Deary on our show, about a week ago, where he went into great detail on this. If you want to go back and hear that interview, it's under the videos tab on our YouTube page, in which Spencer Deary and his legal team alleged that the people voted correctly. Most of these are in-person voting, and it was the government who failed to process them properly, missing a signature or a stamp from the clerk. And again, I'm not going to go into great detail on each case. Deary lays them out in the interview. But in each of these cases, they're saying the person voted correctly. The person exercised their right to vote. The intent of who they were voting for is not in doubt. It was the government who didn't process the ballot properly. Those ballots were challenged by Copenhaver, and the recount commission sided with Copenhaver. The ballots they threw out, 8 for Deary, 2 for Copenhaver, flipped the result of the election to 3 votes for Copenhaver. Deary's campaign then challenged this immediately to the Supreme Court, or almost immediately to the Supreme Court, and said, we are asking you to take this case. We are asking you to bypass the appeals court because we need a resolution promptly. Now, there was no guarantee that the Supreme Court was going to actually take the case. They're not under any obligation to. They could have said, nope, we don't want to hear it for whatever reason. Just like the U.S. Supreme Court, they do whatever they want to do. Now, what's fascinating is Copenhaver's campaign responded to Deary's petition to the Supreme Court. They were obviously opposed to it. They want the recount commission's findings to stand because she would be the winner. And they didn't really dispute, because this is what it comes down to. Do you actually have a guaranteed right to have your vote counted if you do it properly? That is what this case appears to be coming down to. And the statute appears pretty clear that the government cannot throw out, and we've read it to you on the air, the government cannot throw out your ability to vote if you choose to exercise it based on government error. There has to be some sort of fraudulent or malicious intent in order to get a ballot thrown out if you indeed try to legally vote, if you do things the right way. And so Copenhaver's campaign kind of stuck. They don't want to be on the record saying, no, your vote doesn't, Supreme Court, you shouldn't count votes if the government can't process them properly. Because isn't the whole Trump orbit Turning Point USA count every legal vote? Which is who was supporting Paula Copenhaver. It was the Jim Banks Dark Money Group, the Trump aligned groups, the Turning Point USA people, Scott Pressler. Their whole thing, they were the people supporting Copenhagen, and their whole deal is count every legal vote. Well, it certainly appears the votes were legally cast, and it's the government that screwed it up. So they didn't want to say that. So the argument back to the Supreme Court on why these votes shouldn't count is time was up. Time was up for ballots to be certified. It doesn't matter whether these votes were legally cast or not. The time has come and gone. You, Supreme Court, got the case too late. You shouldn't be able to rule. And the Supreme Court was like, well, excuse us. We're the Supreme Court. We'll do whatever the hell we want. Y'all get your asses in here. We're going to have a hearing. So good on the Supreme Court. Now, who knows what they're ultimately going to rule about these ballots? There's no guarantee just because they're agreeing to take the case that they're going to rule in favor of Deary. And I want to be as specific as I can. I know I've said it numerous times. I'm not cheering for this because I'm a Spencer Deary super fan. I don't care either way, whether it's Deary or Copenhagen. Now, I kind of did like the fact that we asked Deary about how he's going to change, and he was basically said, I'm going to be a man on a mission if I go in there, if I get back in there. My eyes have been opened, Rob. Welcome to the party, pal. Because sometimes with these lawmakers, it takes it having done to them for them to get why everyone else is so pissed off about them and the system. But I don't care whether it's Deary or Copenhagen. My issue is I expect to be thoroughly let down based on whoever gets in there. I know what Copenhagen is. She won't even tell us who's paying her legal bills. Haven't we been through that lack of transparency? Who's paying? Not going to tell you. Really? Oh, thank you, Captain Transparency. She won't talk about why she left Rokita's office and went to work for Micah Beckwith, so I don't have any faith in her. But Deary doesn't have a great track record either. I mean, he's very pro-life. He voted against property tax bill, but he's a Mitch Daniels guy. I mean, I'm not thinking either way. My cheering one way or another is not because I want one candidate or another to be in there. I expect to be thoroughly let down no matter who it is. My cheering is that if we say that a person who legally votes goes in person. Deary laid out these circumstances of these people who tried to do it all the right way. If you say that you want to vote, you intend to vote, you do vote, who you intended to vote for is clear, and your vote doesn't count because the government didn't process it properly, then you no longer have a right to vote. And I believe in a right to vote. If the Supreme Court rules against Deary, what they're saying is you have gone from the right to vote to the opportunity to vote as long as the government is competent or not nefarious enough. And obviously, I think that's one of the arguments the Deary campaign has made. He made it on our show. I assume they'll make it in front of the court, which is, look, I don't think anything nefarious happened here. And I don't think anybody's alleged it's nefarious. I think it's just mistakes. And when you think about hundreds of thousands of votes, which were counted in these Senate districts, you're going to have some mistakes made. It doesn't mean anybody was malicious or mean or anything else. And, if we're down to, 10 ballots total out of well over 100,000 that were cast, that's not too bad. But it was sort of technically government incompetence. Again, pretty good track record on that, but overall, it was a mistake by the government. And if you're willing to say that a mistake by the government invalidates your right to vote, then what if it is a nefarious actor the next time? What if it is in one of these counties, you have a clerk that gets elected or runs to be elected to know that, hey, if I make a mistake, well, nothing on me. I can alter the course of the election. I don't think that's what happened here, but that's the door you're opening. So here's the timeline on this, and that's why I'm so passionate about this case. That's why I've given it so much time. It's not because of Deary or Copenhagen. I couldn't care less. I'm going to be screwed no matter what. It's I care about the right to vote. I care about the rule of law. We read the statute to you on this program, which appears to me to clearly show that you cannot invalidate a vote because of government incompetence or a government screw up, whatever word you want to use. And so then it asks a broader question, which is, what were Diego Morales and attorney Paul Mullen, the two Republicans on the recount commission who voted to throw these ballots out, what were they looking at? Because it doesn't sound like there was a lot of information given on why they threw these ballots out. Did they not know the law? Do they disagree with the law? Do they disagree with the law says? It doesn't sound like we have a lot of that information, which would have been very helpful in knowing how we got here. It seems to me to be a pretty big mistake made by the recount commission. It would probably behoove them to have this information going forward, a clear ruling by the Supreme Court to say whether or not the government can invalidate votes because of their own government screw up. It's a big deal. And it's not a big deal because of Deere or Copenhagen. That's its own thing. It's a big deal because your guaranteed right to vote appears to hang in the balance of the outcome. So here's the lay of how this is going to work. Deary and his attorneys and the Journal and Courier up there in Lafayette has a big piece on this if you want to go read some more detail. Deary and his attorneys have until 4:30 this Friday to file their briefs. Copenhagen and the Recount Commission have until 4:30 on Tuesday, September 1st to respond. Deary's camp has until noon Thursday, September 3rd to file a reply, and then it's all going to culminate September 10th with oral arguments in front of the Supreme Court. So we'll keep you posted on all of this. We'll let you know exactly what's going on if anything changes. But a big deal, at least for now, good ruling by the Supreme Court agreeing to take the case on what could be a huge, huge result. Okay. Let's tell you about our friend Anthony Gary, Indy Dwell Real Estate. Anthony Gary, Indy Dwell Real Estate. He is your guy. And he is, whether you're buying a home, whether you're selling a home, whatever you're looking to do, Anthony Gary, Indy Dwell Real Estate is the guy for you. He's got the experience necessary. He has worked with some of the top negotiators, not only just in central Indiana, not only across our state, but across our country. And he would love to get to work for you. 317-756-1159. 317-756-1159. Okay, let's get to some audio from across the fruited plain. And for those of you who know, those of you who are longtime listeners, you know we've got some of the best audio from around the country each day. We put it into one segment. Our bread is buttered with Indiana news, politics, and government. That's what we do. That's where we live. But we also recognize a lot of stuff going on in the world. We don't spend a whole show on it, but we feel like we can kind of capture what's going on in our country with some of the best audio from across the fruited plain. And let's start with Jason. Let's go to can we go to number 5? Can we skip ahead? Is that all right? Okay. So Clarence Thomas, this is amazing. You know, he is one of the great legal minds in the history of this country. And he's been on the Supreme Court since the early 1990s. Has been sort of a leader of the conservative legal movement. And I think if I were ranking them, you know, sort of right now, I would say Alito is first, Thomas is second, Gorsuch is third. If I were to rank, I think Gorsuch and Thomas are sort of 2A, 2B. You could interchange those guys, but all just incredible legal minds. And the Clarence Thomas story is amazing because of what he went through to become a Supreme Court justice. There were horrible allegations made against him when he was running to be on the when he was appointed to be on the Supreme Court. He was appointed by George H.W. Bush. And many people would have backed down in the face of those allegations, very Kavanaugh-esque, if you guys remember. And Clarence Thomas, not only did he not back down, he indicted the entire system on national television. Because the left was outraged that there was that a black conservative even existed. That was their real beef. Because Clarence Thomas was a rock-solid conservative constitutional-based jurist, and he was black. And that flew in the face of everything that the left expected black people to be, and the way they expected black people to act, and the way they expected black people to vote, and the way they expected black people's political beliefs to be. And so Clarence Thomas, he doesn't give a lot of interviews, so it's always sort of a big deal when a Supreme Court justice gives an interview. They give more than they used to, but it's still not an overly common thing. Ted Cruz has a podcast. Did you guys know this? He's a senator and he has a podcast. Sure. Why not? Whatever. Anyway, Cruz and Thomas have known each other for years. Of course, Cruz was the Solicitor General for Texas before he became a U.S. Senator. And so he argued multiple times in front of the Supreme Court. And Thomas went on Cruz's podcast and he discussed just this, that the people in Washington, D.C. expected him to think or act a certain way because he is black and why he rejected it. And look, it's been, 35 years since Clarence Thomas was confirmed to the Supreme Court. I think a lot of this stuff is still true today. And so I thought it was a very, very valuable piece of insight into how the ruling elite in Washington, D.C. view black people and how their vote and their political leanings are just expected. Take a listen.
He really didn't like people saying, you have to do this, you have to do that. We had this saying that there's only two things I have to do, stay black and die.
Yeah.
And that was a retort to people who had these sort of requirements for us, these mandates for us because of our skin color. And the thing that's really kind of interesting, it wasn't until later on that people began to say that when I came to this town, one of the greatest difficulties, if you think about it, was that there were those who thought that I should think a certain way.
Yeah.
And the difficulty has been that they said that, oh, you're confused. Well, I'm not confused. You're confused. You confuse me with someone who's been in indentured servitude or something. But at any rate, they think that here's the way you're supposed to think. Again, here's your skin color. There's this kind of deterministic view that you're supposed to think this because we say so. And I, of course, declined that invitation. And so now that means it's something that I'm a walking contradiction because I've deviated from their perception of what I should think. Explain to me how that is different. Here's the...
his life is amazing because he has faced such immense pressure. And it really is racism. I mean, the left doesn't call it that because they're the ones doing it, but it really is racism. Clarence Thomas has faced immense pressure, not just for his beliefs, but because of his skin color merged with his beliefs. That he's some sort of traitor, Uncle Tom, whatever you want to call him, because he dared to think for himself. He dared to have a viewpoint or a set of views that didn't line up with what the left perceived black people had to be. He's an American hero. I love that. And the interview is fascinating. It's a long interview where they go into a whole bunch of stuff. And again, I didn't even know Ted Cruz had a podcast. Can we go to 4? All right. So Joe Rogan is in this clip you're about to hear. And I told you guys, I've always found Rogan fascinating because clearly he is the most successful podcaster in the world. Like there's no doubt. He's money, clicks, whatever you want to go by, you merge them all together. It's not even close. Rogan's the guy, and he's been the guy. And I ain't mad at him because good on him. I've also said at the same time, I've never totally understood it. I've never thought Rogan, like when I would listen to Rush Limbaugh every day, I would be like, just take away the politics, which I agreed with a lot of Rush's politics. I listened to Rush and I would say every day, I totally get this. He is the most entertaining person on the planet. He's the Babe Ruth of radio. I get why people would sit there for 3 hours straight and listen to this guy. I got it. Rogan, it's like he was just first. It's just like he was just first. Now, again, he's doing what he's doing. It's the highest paid podcast in the world. And I'm sitting here with you guys. So I'm not like judging, right? Good on him. I just saying I never got it. But I also, just because I don't get something, doesn't mean that I am immune to the space it occupies and the influence it has. And Rogan still has an incredible influence, undeniable influence. He's one of the most influential, it's weird to say, but he is one of the most influential people in the country. We saw it during the presidential election. And so when Rogan says stuff, especially when he delves into the political side of things, which, if you watch a whole Rogan episode, he ping-pongs around all over the place on stuff. But Rogan got on, the topic they got on was AOC and this idea of woke one, where the Democrats now are trying to act like all the stuff that happened in 2020 and 2021 was not as bad as you think it was. It's not as bad as you remember. Yeah, okay, some people got kind of out of hand. I mean, by kind of out of hand, the burning of cities, Indianapolis, Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, pick your favorite major metropolitan city, New York, probably had some issues. Property destruction, death. Yeah, okay, those people were a little crazy. And they had some kind of out of the mainstream ideas, like get rid of police officers. But that was woke one. That's not us anymore. Those people were crazy. Of course, all the people that we're promoting now, these left people, are the same people that had those ideas during then, but they've learned their lesson. They've learned their lesson. Don't even. Of course, woke one also implies there'd be a woke two. So Rogan takes on the idea of woke one, and he's not buying it. And rightfully so, Rogan says we need a whole lot more explanation on what people like AOC actually thought then and what they believe today. Take a listen.
Because if you're just saying that...
Well, she also said woke one was crazy. Do you track this thing?
I did.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that you're willing to change your opinions based on public reaction. I don't like that. Because if you really thought defund the police and then you just ascribed it to woke one was crazy, well, how did it get you? Because it didn't get me. How did it get you? How did defund the police get you? Give me your thoughts. How far out did you track the consequences of defunding the police? Because I immediately went to, you're going to have more crime because no one's going to be able to stop the crime. We're going to be it's going to get scary, and then you're going to want more police, and saying defund the police is just going to make more police and more control and more totalitarian government. Like, what did you think defund the police meant? Everyone's going to, eat mushrooms, and we're all going to, be flower children? What did you think? Because there's no police around, no one's going to do crimes, everyone's going to be great? What was the thought process? Because if you're just saying that because everybody's like, that's crazy, and enough people say that's crazy, you're like, I think they think it's crazy.
The wind's blowing in a different direction. Time for me to move.
Have you changed your opinion? And if you did change your opinion, what were you thinking back then?
He's spot on. They haven't changed anything. They believe that stuff. I mean, Jesse Brown was on with us. He's the DSA guy. And we're lucky he's an honest one. They believe in defund the police. They believe in abolish the prisons. They believe in get rid of the borders, the border security. They haven't changed at all. What they recognize now is the society has moved on from that. It was this bizarre time because of all the COVID stuff that they were able to latch on to insanity and get away with it. And they know now the public's not going to go for that. So they believe it. It hasn't changed. And I'm going to show you an example of how it hasn't changed. Let's go to 3. Let's go to 3. This El Said monster in Michigan. This guy running for Abdul El Said, who is running for Senate. He's the Democrat nominee for Senate. And for some reason, I credit for him for doing it, he went on Fox News with Jesse Waters. And Waters asked him about reparations because the El Said guy has previously been on all in on reparations. And he didn't really back down on it. These people believe in this stuff. And right here, he's going to lay it out for you. They believe in reparations, like full-blown reparations. Take a listen.
Reparations. Do you support that? I think we need to have an honest conversation about the incredible debt that was put upon black folks as a function of slavery that we have yet to pay. And I just think that's fair. Like if people are enslaved and forced into servitude, and then we don't actually have a conversation about all that was owed, that our own country agreed was owed. I just think that it's past time to have that conversation. That shouldn't be a crazy thing. I understand that, like, for folks who really want to inflame culture war, I just think it's important for us to think about how do we make sure that communities like the city of Detroit that have been segregated so that you have a disproportionate number of people as a function of redlining who are forced into certain communities, how do we make sure that their schools are made whole? I'll just tell you this, in the city of Detroit right now, they just had $700 million invested in their schools. They're still $1.7 billion behind. And a lot of folks want to say, oh, well, that's profligacy, et cetera, et cetera. No, a lot of that has to do with public policy.
Okay.
And if public policy created a level in which black folks disproportionately suffer everything from maternal mortality and infant mortality to lack of access to jobs, I think it's important for our country to have a conversation about how we make people whole.
You want to have a conversation about it because we have you on the record as backing it, but now you just want to have a conversation. I got it.
See, look, I mean, he wants the stuff, and that's exactly what Rogan was just talking about. I mean, we've had this conversation numerous times with Abdul over the years, and maybe I'm back on to have it again, about how insane the idea of reparations are. And Abdul's made this point. He's like, who gets them? If you're an 8th black, are you a 16th black? Like, who is actually eligible for reparations? How much? And who's going to pay for it? How are you going to pay? I mean, it's all insane. But this is a core tenet of the left, and El Said is showing you right there, they haven't moved on at all. It's all the same. Okay, Jason, I know we still got a few minutes here left in this segment. I want to hold off that Steve Ellis interview until I want to do one more segment, because obviously when I started putting the template together yesterday, we had, of course, not anticipated the announcement of the passing of Matt Bair. So if that's all right, once we go to a break, we'll save that. Guys, there is some absolute insanity going on in Vigo County with their school system. It's crazy. Like, you will be blown. I mean, the schools all over the state are totally out of control. But there is a special law written for Vigo County by Republicans that are going to allow potentially hundreds of millions of dollars of spending to take place in Vigo County for their school system that voters had previously rejected via referendum. So now the referendum isn't the ultimate say anymore. We don't like the results of the referendum. We go to the General Assembly. That's where I've told you guys this for years. The public school system will never quit. They're never going to stop. And Steve Ellis, who is the president of the Vigo County Council, will be with us here coming up in the 10 o'clock hour to talk about that, because it is bonkers. But we got to get to Braun and NIPSCO. The Braun and NIPSCO stuff, and trying to boss around the power people up in Northwest Indiana is bonkers too. So we got to get to that as well. We got some more audio we got to get to. We got so many things. Indiana news, politics, and government. You're not going to find anywhere else. It's right here on the Rob Kendall Show. But first, it's Tuesday. That means Wednesday is right around the corner. That's tomorrow in plain English. And that means Double D's will be open for lunch and dinner. Double D's Barbecue, authentic wood-smoked Memphis-style barbecue, right there in Clayton. A little bit of a drive there in 40, totally worth the trip. Every one of you guys who goes out there, you just rave about it. It's the food, it's the atmosphere, it's the service. You got it all at Double D's, right there where 40 and 39 come together in Clayton. Winner of best ribs at Rib Fest in Hendricks County, winner of best sauce at Rib Fest in Hendricks County. They are not screwing around when it comes to their barbecue. You can find the full menu. Don't take my word for it. Ribs, brisket, and more. DDBBQ317.com. DDBBQ317.com. Now, remember, you got to get there early because everything's made from scratch each day. So once it's gone, they are done. Dunzo. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. Come back, we'll get to more of this audio. Braun's going at the power people in Northwest Indiana. That's fascinating. We got a lot. Oh, and this Vigo County school stuff, which is unbelievable as well. We got a lot to get to. Nobody does local like us. You're watching Rob Kendall Show. Do you have a dog but don't have a fenced-in yard? Your HOA won't allow a fence? Worried about having to watch your furry friend anytime you go outside? Avoid the blazing hot summers and freezing cold winters with All-American Dog Fence. All-American Dog Fence is the cost-effective, easy-to-use, in-ground fence system to keep your dog secure and give you peace of mind anytime they're outside. All American Dog Fence backs their Pet Stop products with a lifetime warranty. Call or text All American Dog Fence at 317-862-6606 or visit their website at allamericandogfence.com. Mention the Rob Kendall Show and get $200 off a new installation.
In Congress, I get all sorts of insider stock tips. Sure, I cashed in. It's my Beltway bonus. But now here comes Senator Todd Young with his total ban on congressional stock trades.
Freaking Mr. Clean Marine. Todd Young's got real guts taking us on. Young's gonna cost me millions.
Had enough of this? Contact Senator Todd Young to say thanks and let him know that you stand with his plan to ban stock trading for all members of Congress.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't done so yet, help us out. Help us grow the program. Indiana news, politics, and government. You're not going to find anywhere else. Like, share, and subscribe. That's how we do it. That's how we grow the Rob Kendall Show. Now, coming up here in just a moment, we got more audio to get to, and the governor, the gov, he is big mad at NIPSCO and this power not being on in Northwest Indiana. And given that conversation that we had yesterday with Chuck Pullen from WJOB up in the region, I find this whole thing fascinating because he was trying to say yesterday, and Chuck's no fan of the government, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on that ain't NIPSCO's fault that they're getting the blame for. So we'll get into that. We got more audio. Sophie Cunningham said something yesterday that was very interesting. Hillary said something yesterday that was super interesting. But first, you guys got a leaky chimney, water in the basement, cracks around the exterior of your home? Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants is your authority for chimney repair, tuck pointing, foundation repair, crawl space to basement conversions, basement waterproofing, and more. Bramwell Mackay, they don't just do quick patches. Their team of 40-year master masons and industry experts address the root cause and provide solutions that last lifetimes. Your home is one of your biggest investments. Treat it that way. Bramwell Mackay, your masonry, foundation, and chimney experts. All right, let's get to Braun and NIPSCO. So, most of you are aware of this. For those of you who may not be, we'll just do a very high-level thing. Northwest Indiana has been a disaster for 2 weeks. With obviously the storms themselves, the damage done by the storms, damage to people's homes, their properties, their cars. And in the wake of those storms, people have been unable to really access their homes, and we're talking tens of thousands of people over the last couple of weeks because the power has not been turned back on. And the power provider in Northwest Indiana, for the most part, is a company called NIPSCO, which is Northern Indiana Public Service Company. Now, we have said this for years, and I'm glad it's finally getting some traction by the governor, which we'll talk about here in a second. The Indiana Capital Chronicle has a big expose on this. The issue is twofold with the power companies. Number one, they have monopolies that are granted by the government. Any company that has a monopoly has no incentive to better their service other than to keep their monopoly from the government. I'm not blaming NIPSCO, Duke, Centerpoint, any of those, right? Any utility that has a monopoly has no incentive to be better because there's no competition. They have no incentive to be better, and that would be true in any walk of life. Competition comes out of, or getting better comes out of competition. If we don't improve, both on price, both on product, somebody else is going to swoop in and take our part of the market. We have to get better in order to survive. That doesn't exist with utilities because the government gives them a monopoly on a service area. We've been shouting about this for years that until that goes away, you're never going to actually solve the issues with utilities constantly asking for rate hikes. You can't go anywhere else. They know this. There's no downfall. There's no downside for them asking for rate increases. It's the same thing with the schools and the referendums, which we'll get into here in a little bit. The insanity that's going on in Vigo County with their school system. As long as schools can ask for referendums whenever they want, which they can, I mean, they can be on the ballot every 2 years, and there's no punishment for them failing, why wouldn't they just keep asking? There's no punishment for them. I have said for a long time now that the school system should have some skin in the game, and that means if your community goes for a referendum and it fails, which means you're not representing the will of the community, the superintendent and the school board are out. You want to take the gamble, and it doesn't pass, you're done. Superintendent fired, can't work as a superintendent for X amount of years, and the school board people all got to quit. What's the punishment? There is no punishment. I mean, even on annexations, if a community goes for an annexation and it fails, there's years before they can do it again. There's punishment for not getting it right. And so with the utilities, there's no punishment. You go ask for a rate request. It doesn't get approved. So what? You come back again. And they seem to get approved in some capacity almost all the time. NIPSCO is a great example of this. NIPSCO has the highest utility rates in the state. And they just got a big increase last year. Well, what incentive does NIPSCO have to do better? I mean, yes, they've made certain guarantees to the government that they're going to put a certain amount of money or whatever back into the product. But we've laid out to you how amongst the big 5 for-profit utilities, their profits have grown immensely over the past couple of years, up from 13 cents for every dollar generated for profit to 15 cents for every dollar generated. You should not be able to have a monopoly and be able to increase your profit margins. You should not be able to have a government-granted monopoly, which eliminates all competition in the workplace, and be able to grow your profit margin. You would not be able to do that if you didn't have the monopoly. You want the monopoly, you don't get to grow your profit margin. There's your profit. Go accordingly. So fast forward, NIPSCO gets these rate increases, highest utility rates in the state. And then this storm happens in Northwest Indiana. And people have been without power for 2 weeks now. And Braun, because Braun, as we've talked about in previous shows, he's not a detail person. I found that out with the property tax stuff. He just wants it done, and that's fine. It happens a lot in business, I'm saying. It's fine. Happens all the time in business. I think Trump's kind of the same way. And you can do that because you have people who do things for you. I want this, make it happen. Okay? That isn't how government works. Details matter, and you got to know him as the governor, and Braun's never been all that invested. So we had Chuck Pullen from WJOB on yesterday to talk about, okay, what's the condition up there? The governor's going at the power company. He said, wait a second. It's not all necessarily the power company. The damage is so robust down here, the power company can't possibly do it all on their own. I'm talking about, trees and roadways and crumbled bridges and all these sorts of things that we have seen across our state. Which brings us to the Indiana Capital Chronicle article yesterday, in which Governor Mike Braun directed Indiana's utility consumer advocate to seek a regulatory investigation into Northern Indiana Public Service Company after widespread outages left thousands of Northwest homes and businesses without power for nearly 2 weeks. Okay, I don't have a problem with the investigation. The problem is, though, you're going to investigate a company that you, the government, including last year with these rate increases, while Braun was governor, and I didn't hear much said about it, have granted them the ability to do this. The IURC, the government, has granted them the rate increases. And the government, Republican-run government, under Holcomb, was basically rubber stamping these rate increases. The requested investigation would examine NIPSCO's vegetation management and right-of-way maintenance, along with whether money approved by state regulators for infrastructure and reliability improvements was spent as promised. Again, I don't have a problem with the investigation. The issue is the system itself. You're treating a disease or a symptom rather than the disease itself. The system itself is broken, and it's again, we come back to the property tax deal. As long as your property tax bill can go up based on what some other guy sells his house for, assessments, you're never going to fix property taxes. Some other guy sells his home, makes money, makes a profit, your taxes go up. That's insanity. It's the same thing here. You're asking this body, the IURC, to be some investigative agency and, in the sense, some sort of police agency when the system is rigged clearly in favor of the criminal. Now, I'm not saying the utility people are criminals. I'm using that as an analogy. But the system is set up with the monopoly where competition in the workplace doesn't exist. Of course, they're going to cut every corner imaginable, one would think, because they care about profit. That's what corporations do. It's what corporations do. And what? Are you going to have, who's going to police the quote-unquote vegetation management? Is Braun some sort of arborist now? Is he some sort of tree expert? Braun directed the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor to file a complaint and petition the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission to open the review. Quote, NIPSCO is a monopoly utility that Hoosiers pay every month with the expectation that it will use its considerable resources to maintain its system, prepare for severe weather, and restore service as quickly as possible when disaster strikes. The purpose of companies buying other companies to get as close to a monopoly as they possibly can in any other industry, which goes through some level of government oversight, is they don't want to be accountable. That's why they swallow up other companies. That's why mergers happen. They want to control the marketplace, because when you control the marketplace, you can put out more garbage and people don't have as much of an option. That's what mergers are all about. Companies never get better because of mergers. Can you, like AOL Time Warner, how'd that work out? Like, think of these mergers that take place. It very rarely ever gets better for the consumer. But in this case, it's not two companies choosing to come together. It's the government who has granted them, creating the lack of competition in the marketplace. It is the government who has granted the lack of competition in the marketplace. The whole, right out of the box, NIPSCO is a monopoly utility. Hoosiers pay every month by force because of you guys in the government. If you guys in the government weren't forcing them to pay and allowed them to shop, NIPSCO would probably be better, as would everybody else. NIPSCO has failed to keep its end of the bargain, Braun said in a Monday statement. Hoosiers deserve accountability. Then get rid of the monopoly. If you want to give Hoosiers better, well, Jason said give us a new governor. That's probably a good start. Well, the problem is we don't want Braun quitting right now, because that means you know who would be in charge. And we don't want that. I mean, we got to take bad because we don't want worse. In addition to vegetation management and right-of-way maintenance, the governor wants a review of whether funds authorized through the IURC approved tracking mechanisms were used for their intended purposes. This is government. You give the money out first and then go, you guys are going to follow through, right? You guys go ahead and take the money, but you're going to follow through, right? You're the utility. And what Braun doesn't want to acknowledge is why the utilities have been given all these sweetheart deals, all these sweetheart regulations or lack thereof, all these sweetheart abilities. Why? Because the utilities give huge money to politicians. The Indiana Economic Development Foundation, the travel arm of the IURC, is extensively funded by the utilities. If Braun wants to fix the issue, ban the utilities from giving money to lawmakers. Because ultimately, this is not going to get solved by the IURC. It's going to get solved by the governor and the lawmakers. Stop taking money from the politicians. And it's bull to think that's going to happen. Look at who Chris Garton named as his number 2 when he takes over in the Senate. Eric Cook. What is Eric Cook? He's the utility guy in the Senate. The star laid out, the tens of thousands of dollars he's accepted from the utilities in campaign donations. The meals, the gifts that he's accepted from the utilities. It's laughable to think the Republicans, who will still control the government this time next year, are going to do anything about utilities when they're financially, through campaign donations and gifts, in bed with the utilities and through the IEDF. And they like to travel. I'm not buying for a second Braun actually gives a damn about the utilities and the price of utilities, because just last year he signed into law a bill that allows utilities to recuperate 80% of the research and development on this unproven nuclear technology, SMR, small modular reactors, whether they work or not. And there's not a single city in this country that are currently being powered by SMRs. Can you think of another industry where no matter what they do, you got to pay for it? I mean, if Coca-Cola comes up with some new product, their research and development, I mean, it ultimately gets paid for in the price of the cola. But if it fails, you don't have to buy the cola. Here, you're forced to pay for the product, whether you can buy it or not. And yet we're led to believe Braun actually gives a damn about the price of utilities. I don't believe it for a second. Not for a second. You have to look at the actions of these guys, not the speeches. Now, NIPSCO is pushing back. Quote, we strongly disagree with the characterization of NIPSCO's vegetation management practices, they said in a statement. We will vigorously defend the company through the legal process. NIPSCO's electric operations, including its active vegetation management, are overseen by the IURC. NIPSCO's vegetation management spend has more than doubled since 2016, demonstrating our commitment and focus to maintaining a safe and reliable electric system. So now it's going to turn into a thing where it's the public's attorneys against their attorneys. And I think it comes down to Braun never wanting to address actual issues. It's the structure of the system. If you live on a house with a bad foundation, ask our guys at Bramwell Mackay. You live on a house with a bad foundation, everything else is downhill. It doesn't matter what else you do. Painting the walls is stupid if the house is going to slide into the abyss, crumble into the abyss. And that's what Braun is trying to do here. He's trying to make you think he really cares. He's trying to make you think I'm really doing something, when in reality, he won't touch the structure, the foundation of the thing, which is why the bad thing exists, and he knows that. All right, let's go back to our audio, if we can, real quick here. Clip 1. Sophie Cunningham, star of the Indiana Fever, one of the stars of the Indiana Fever. And, of course, she got all this backlash for basically saying, if you have a penis, don't play women's sports. If you're a man, play man sports. Why that would be controversial beyond me. Women play women's sports, men play men's sports. Pretty simple. Women are biologically not equivalent to men. It doesn't make women less than as people. It just means in the creation from the good Lord above, we were created differently. Men are bigger. Men are stronger. Men are faster. It's not an indictment of women. And Sophie Cunningham for the Fever can recognize this. Well, of course, she gets all this backlash. And I got to say, I like Sophie Cunningham because she don't back down. A lot of times these athletes, they wilt. They apologize. They say how sorry they are. They made a mistake. Not Sophie Cunningham. She was asked, she got asked or got on the topic of speaking out on issues that are important to her. And she said, good on her, not going to change. Clip 1. Take a listen.
People are like, hey, you guys have a huge platform. Use it. Well, once you use it, hey, stick to basketball. You're an athlete. And it's like, you can't satisfy anyone. So you might as well just be yourself and beat to your own drum. And that's what I do. And I'm 100% okay and happy and at peace with who I am. There's always growth and you can always be better. But I do think that that's something America can get better at, is maybe not always agreeing with people, but also just showing peace and love. It's okay to disagree.
Yeah, I mean, she's right. The left wants people to use their platform as long as they're left. The left wants people to use their platform as long as they politically agree with them. And what she said wasn't even political. It's the most benign thing ever. If you have a penis, play men's sports. If you don't have one, you play women's sports. Or if you were born without one, you play women's sports. And this is why you see the WNBA, despite having this incredible opportunity, they're literally not only not capitalizing on it to the extent they should, they're pushing people away. Because everything has to be political. I saw a report from ESPN. I mean, they are not going to let Enes Kanter Freedom or Royce White play in the league next year. That's going to be very interesting. Because the only way I can see they can do that is for them to admit men cannot play in our league. And then that's going to make the transsexual community and the left mad because that's one of their prized possessions, right? Not acknowledging that men and women are different, that men and women have different abilities. It's going to be very interesting. But good on Sophie Cunningham speaking out. Hey, look, if LeBron James can do it, if these left WNBA players can do it, she should be able to do it too. Good on her. All right, one other piece of audio, clip 2. Hillary poked her head out of the sand. She was at some sort of forum, and she got asked about the left getting in bed with the maniacs, these Democrat Socialists of America people. And she basically said, it's nothing more than an experiment, and it's actually healthy. So she's saying, you go, Democrats, turn the party over to the leftists. Take a listen.
The Democratic Party right now is, I think, going through a kind of experiment. Like, who can actually respond, particularly to young people's very real concerns about where they are at this point in their lives and what kind of future do they have for themselves. And I think that's healthy.
She thinks the El Said guy, that Hong chick in Wisconsin, the people that are screaming at that whiner dude in San Francisco, that's healthy. It's a healthy experiment. And you know what's crazy about Hillary? Because James Carville, who was the right-hand guy to the Clintons, has come out vehemently against the DSA people. I mean, unabashed, pull no punches. Here's who these people are. I don't want any part of it. So that's where you know the Clintons are, because that's where they actually are. But I think there's part of Hillary, as weird as this sounds, I think there's part of Hillary that still fancies herself president of the United States someday. Even though she's damn near 80 years old. I think she looks at Trump as like, I could do that. There's still a path for me to be president. And I think she so covets someday being president of the United States, as weird as this sounds, that she is willing to defend what she knows to be a bunch of absolute insane maniacs. All right. As we said, it's Tuesday, and that means you can make plans for dinner this weekend or lunch this weekend. The Honeysuckle Hill Bistro on the water out in beautiful Brazil, the place for you this weekend. Now, they're all normally open Saturday for dinner, but they got 2 weddings they're catering this weekend, so no Saturday. So your options this week with the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro on the water in beautiful Brazil. Lunch Friday. Dinner Friday. So lunch Friday, dinner Friday, brunch buffet on Sunday. If you're looking for an excuse to get away and have a fabulous meal in the process, Honeysuckle Hill Bistro in Brazil is the place for you. Scenic outdoor view, great food, great atmosphere. Andy and Jody, owners of the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage, would love to meet and welcome you. See the full menu and get your opportunity to make a reservation online. Just Google Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and explore the cottage as well if you're looking to make a weekend away. Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage on the water in beautiful Brazil. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Steve Ellis is the president of the Vigo County Council. And he is going to be with us to talk about, and like, sometimes we take specific communities, even though our show is for the state of Indiana, and we showcase them. Because if it's happening there, it's probably coming soon to a theater, or in this case, a community near you. There is some absolute insanity going on in Vigo County. Voters there a couple years ago rejected a school referendum. Instead of getting the message, a new end around with help from the Republicans in the General Assembly. We'll tell you about it with Steve Ellis. Coming up next, you're watching Rob Kendall Show.
I'm Anthony Gary. I started Indy Dwell Real Estate because too many friends, family members, and neighbors had real estate experiences that lacked compassion, explanation, and expertise. You deserve someone in your corner with the heart of a teacher, simplifying every step of the buying or selling process. When you hire me, you get me. Start to finish, you'll never be handed off. No stress, no surprises, just the expert guidance and results you deserve. Anthony Gary, Indy Dwell Real Estate. Call or text 317-756-1159. 317-756-1159.
Did you know Honeysuckle Hill in Brazil offers more than just a fabulous made-from-scratch meal at the bistro? It also has an adjoining cottage, great for a perfect, relaxing weekend away with a scenic waterfront view. The cottage offers 3 bedrooms, 2 baths with spa-like tile showers, full kitchen, living room with fireplace, laundry facilities, and a full deck overlooking the lake. And Andy, one of the owners, delivers breakfast in a picnic basket at 8:30 each morning. Plan the perfect weekend away at the scenic Honeysuckle Hill property on the water in beautiful Brazil. Book today by visiting their website at honeysucklehillb.com.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
There are some crazy things going on with government, and then there's Vigo County. What a story we have for you guys. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us. Joining us now, Steve Ellis. He's the president of the Vigo County Council, and what a wild story this is about schools and government. Steve, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. All right. I've been following this. Most people know my family is from Terre Haute, so I'm always interested in Terre Haute stuff, but this is a story about wild and crazy government facilitated by the state of Indiana. Terre Haute schools are a mess. Kind of start high level with that. What is the issue with Terre Haute schools? Why are they in such, for lack of a better term, trouble?
So we have for some time now, we've had an issue with the school corporation not necessarily maintaining our schools locally. And they've gotten themselves into a position where between not necessarily maintaining as they go along, and I think in some cases it's probably orchestrated or planned so that the schools are in poor condition, so they have a need to do with what you and I are getting ready to talk about here shortly. But nonetheless, for whatever reason, the schools are in very, very bad shape, and they're now in a position of where they're wanting to build a new school to replace the old schools.
So Terre Haute has 2 high schools, north and south, and they're spread out all across Terre Haute, which is a very large geographical area. Is part of the issue is that the physical condition of the schools, or the lack of kids in the schools and maintaining the facilities? When you talk about that, what is the actual problem?
So I think it's the actual condition of the schools. So we have everything from leaky roofs to toilets that are maybe not mounted to the walls to sewage. Their claim, not mine. Sewage on the floor. My argument to that would be, why are you not cleaning that up and taking care of it? But in some cases, I think there's perhaps even mold. So I think there's a slew of issues that have come across that once again are from as a result of the people that are in those positions choosing not to take care of them properly.
Well, that's my question for you. And then we're going to get to the issue here, because it's amazing the state allowed this to happen. And that's one of the big things that everybody in our audience should care about, whether you live in Terre Haute or not, is the state is facilitating this insanity we're about to talk about. But is the issue a lack of revenue, or is the issue a lack of competency in the government that has allowed these conditions to take hold?
I think honestly, there's probably a little bit of both. So you have the fact that the government has created what you and I are getting ready to talk about, but also I think because they've not maintained the schools, you've probably had some parents that have pulled their kids out of the system, or they're going to neighboring counties doing homeschooling, et cetera. And so those are vouchers that are money revenue that's being lost coming into our county. So their operating capital probably is less, but to some degree of their own making.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a referendum proposed a couple of years ago, and the community defeated that referendum, right?
So in 2024, they did pitch a referendum, and it got beat badly. And I think part of that, a lot of that, was a lack of trust in our school corporation.
I think that's an issue. Go into that a little bit because I see this a lot like in Brownsburg, where I live. We defeated a school referendum and they haven't been back for one since because the community said, we're not doing this. What message do you think the defeat of that referendum sent, or should it have sent, to the community? And what changes did the school system make, if any, out of that?
So I think the school corporation picked up loud and clear that there's a lack of trust and that a referendum probably won't pass. And then so they came up with the idea of, hey, what if we created a special law that would then allow only Vigo County, Indiana, to take tax money from the taxpayers in a different way without them having their voices heard. So they basically found a way to circumvent the law, and I'm probably the jerk that stands in the way of that happening. One of them.
Okay, I love this because it's not my community. If it were my community, I'd be outraged. But for our show purposes, this is super interesting. So, timeline: the school puts up a referendum. Taxpayers say no, you need to do more with less, get back to work. And their response to that was, tell us what they went to the state to do. And it's amazing to me the state said, sure, why not?
So what happened was they created, and I say they. I hate using the word they and not defining who they is. But the truth is, I don't know exactly who is in they. But I think it probably included several of our local elected officials, along with a couple of outside groups that we retain to help us know. Basically, they're groups that give us direction on what we should and shouldn't do with county finances. And I think they also do a lot of lobbying. So these groups, these individuals and group, went and pitched to the at the state level to have a law passed that allows the Vigo County, and the way they worded it was any county that has no more than one school corporation and that has a population of over 100,000 and under 110,000. And guess what? There's one that falls into those parameters. So here we are.
Well, they did this too with like Plainfield, where they allowed Plainfield to annex across township lines to bring a golf course in. And to me, it's like they write these laws for one specific school district. And my point is, if it's good for them, it's good for everyone. But it sounds like in this case, whoever was in charge had enough juice to say, write this law for us so we can subvert the will of the taxpayers, which is the school better get their act together.
Yes. And honestly, you say what's good for one should be good for all. And that's exactly what we're seeing here is they're creating within our own school district, within our one school district, kids in sixth grade in one part of the community will go to elementary school, and kids in sixth grade in the other part of the community will go to middle school. So our sixth graders aren't even being treated the same. It's asinine that we're even talking about this stuff.
Okay, so they create the special law, it gets voted on. By the way, do you like, as the head of the county council, do you get a heads up? Hey, we're crafting a law that everyone knows is just for you guys. Do you get a chance to go speak against it? Like, how does that even get on your radar?
So no, but also I wasn't the president when this all started. It was a different president at that time, and that's a whole nother story that took place that you and I can talk about some other time. But there was a lot that transpired there, and I believe that the law was not followed properly during that period. And then when the change, here we have a new county council president at the beginning of every year. And so at the beginning of the year, I think basically the council had decided that there was just so much arguing an animosity within the council itself that they wanted to go a different direction with a leadership role. Now, having said that, I think people could also argue that I have created some division as well.
Good.
So I don't know. I'm a better choice.
We love division here because we need more of it in our government. Okay, so tell us, okay, high level, the county, for people who don't know, the county council is in charge of funding the county government. There's two bodies, commissioners, council. I'm simplifying this. Commissioners are policy people, council doles out the money. Tell us about what this new law allows to have happen and what these people in Terre Haute and the Terre Haute school system want you guys to do now. This is crazy.
So what it does is it says, hey, the local community, not just local community, the local elected officials can select a small body of 5 individuals that will go and look at the county finances and tell us whether or not we have the funds to give to the school corporation. And so, I mean, my first argument there is, hey, if we on the council are not capable of figuring this out, we probably shouldn't be in that position to begin with. But beyond that, if we were going to hire an outside group to do this, then it should be the council that decides who we're going to hire. It should not be a group that is already. I'm trying to choose my words wisely here. Already thinking in a certain direction, and so they're going to, yeah.
And so,
Go
so
ahead,
you're
I'm sorry.
saying that, well, I was saying this group, so what, like this group comes at it from the standpoint of rather than should we do it, can we do it? You're saying that a lot of people have the perception this group is coming at it, we're going to do it, and here's how you're going to do it.
That would be a very good synopsis.
Okay. Now, this is fascinating to me because in every other school district that I'm aware of in the state, someone correct me if I'm wrong, county funds the county, city in this case funds the city, the school funds the school. But basically, because the voters rejected the school's plan for the referendum, they're saying, well, we're done with this. It's your problem now, county. Is that right?
So yeah, so what this does is it circumvents the process and the law and allows the county, if you had 7 council members that were willing to do this, it would allow us to basically take more money from the taxpayers and apply it to the schools without their consent. And that's not the way that it has been designed in the past. It's not the way it's supposed to be. So if you're going to change the law, then change it for the whole state.
Okay, so where is this group at? What have they recommended, if anything? And then what happens?
So we've known since day one what they were going to recommend, which was they want to acquire a new piece of property. They are recommending building a new school that will be somewhere between $250 million. That's B with a billion with a B. And they want to build the school on the east side. And so, my first argument would be, hey, why would we acquire a new piece of property when we already have properties that are big enough? And by the way, we still have to maintain those, and they don't want to get rid of them because if you sell them, you have to sell them for $1 to charter schools, and that creates a competition for them. They're going to lose more funding, so they don't want to do that. So you're going to have to continue maintaining those. So why would we not use a piece of property that we already own? But in addition to that, a community this size, I mean, we can go to, you live in a nice community, and or you can go to a Carmel or Fishers or wherever you want to go that has way more income than we do, and we don't see them spending this kind of funding on schools. So it just doesn't make sense that for a community this size, we're trying to spend this kind of money just on one school. And oh, by the way, when that's done, we're not sure how we're going to pay to fix all the other schools.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really is. And this is why I wanted to have you on. It really is subverting the will of the voters. And it's the Republican controlled legislature that's allowing this to happen because the voters spoke. And you're right. If you put a $500 million referendum in front of the people, I have no doubt that thing would fail again. And they're essentially saying, you do it, county. We can pressure these 7 people because the community wouldn't go for it when we gave them the option to go for it.
So here's what I'll say is in our community, since you mentioned a party, I will say in our community, this is not party affiliated. It is 100%. There are Republicans and Democrats on both sides of this. So I kind of look at it as there are the group of people who, whether you're Republican or Democrat, that stand with what I believe is the people, all of, the majority of the taxpayers. And then there is the group of individuals that I believe are, I'm going to refer to them as elitist, or the group that says, hey, we want the fancy stuff, we want the nice stuff, and we want to impose our will on everyone else without their input.
Couple minutes left with Steve Ellis. He's the president of the Vigo County Council. So you guys have the proposed plan. What happens now? You guys have to vote on this. What's next?
So that's going to make for an interesting couple of meetings. So they did make the recommendation. The commissioners are coming to make a recommendation to the council. And number one, I've said, look, you guys put together an oversight board who put off their findings several times. And by the way, they had the assistance of two outside firms that helped them come to find out what kind of money was available. And so, and it took them 8 to 9 months, and they're going to give it to us and want us to make a decision in a week. Well, that's not an amount of time that anyone can feasibly look into this and truly make an educated decision. So they're wanting us to rubber stamp it, and I'm not in the business of rubber stamping anything. So with me, that's not going to happen. That doesn't mean other council members might not do that, but I will not.
No, I think about like here in Brownsburg, the community made a deal with the school that they asked for a short-term funding increase from the town and the townships for a couple of years. They said there's a problem with the school funding formula, which there is. They think that'll get corrected. And it's roughly a $2.5 million investment. They agreed not to seek a referendum. That seemed reasonable to me. They didn't come for 500 million plus add-ons. And I think, man, if I were a Vigo County taxpayer, I would be outraged that we just said no, and now you guys are trying an in around on us to get basically what we just said no to.
Yeah. And so to be completely transparent, so I'm not misleading in any way, what they came to us and pitched was 222 million, but the 222 million, first off, they don't have a building designed. So, and they admitted that it does not include soft goods. They've admitted it doesn't include property acquisition. They've admitted that it doesn't include fields. And so, I mean, we all know how expensive the sporting fields can be. So, no one knows exactly where that's going to fall, but it's going to be a large number.
The reason we want to do this on this show, because we cover all of Indiana, is it's another example of schools refusing to abide by the will of the taxpayer. And we see this all the time in central Indiana. I mean, Brownsburg's one of the few that doesn't have a referendum here, these major large school corporations where they're just like, we take whatever we want. We're going to use kids as human shields if we don't get it. If we get told no, we'll find a way around it. And when I heard about this, I was like, man, this is like the ultimate version of that, to the point where they said, we'll never get that referendum through. So screw it. We're going to put all the pressure on you 7 guys on the council and make your lives hell if you don't do it.
There's no doubt this is going to be an interesting couple of meetings for sure.
Tell us about your Facebook page. It's great. Like I said, my parents are from the greater Wabash Valley area, and Terre Haute was my second home growing up. It's holding Vigo County accountable. It's awesome. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I started a page a while back, basically to it started off just interviewing candidates. I wasn't in politics. And I was interviewing candidates that were running for office so that the public would have a better understanding of who they were voting for. And then eventually I ended up being in politics. I'll be honest, I didn't spend any money on a campaign. I didn't take any donations. I'm running for office now, and I'm not taking any donations. And so I just kind of let the chips fall where they might, and see what happens. But the goal is basically transparency and making sure the public is aware of what's going on in our community.
It's a great page, whether you live over there or not. I think you do an excellent job of exposing different things that are going on. And man, thank you. People should follow the page, Holding Vigo County Accountable. It's a great watch. Steve, thanks for taking a few minutes to share with us about what's going on over there. It comes off as wickedly wrong, and the more publicity we can bring to it, the better. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Rob, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll take a break. Be back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
If authentic wood-smoked barbecue is your thing, Double D's Barbecue in Clayton is the place for you. Owners Dennis and Tina Duncan, along with their son Garrett, are from Memphis. So when it comes to barbecue, they're not screwing around. No pellet smokers, no roasters, just authentic wood-smoked Memphis-style barbecue. All of Double D's food is cooked fresh daily, and it's all made from scratch. Double D's Barbecue, located at 40 and 39 in Clayton, is open all day, Wednesday through Saturday, but get there early because once they're sold out, they're done. Check out the full menu, ribs, brisket, and more at ddbbq317.com.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Is the inside of your house a total mess, like a complete dumpster fire? Call AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning. When you walk into your house after using AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning, you will see and smell the difference. They take great pride in their workers and treat your home like their own. All cleaners pass through a background check and drug screening. Call today and mention you heard about AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning on the Rob Kendall Show, and you will get an incredible $50 off your first clean. AJ's Picture Perfect Cleaning serves all of Central Indiana. Book your appointment today by calling 317-530-8148. 317-530-8148. Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us. Coming up here in just a little bit, here's what we're going to do. There's so many comments during our tribute to Matt Bair to open the show. We want to do a little bit of an extended YouTube chat brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing to read your thoughts. If you haven't gotten them in yet, it'll be an opportunity for you here, probably top of next hour, because I know Matt meant so much to you guys as well. It's why we started the show with it, went as long as we did on it, because he was just a very special guy, and he was in your homes, he was in your cars, for a decade. A lot of people don't, realize or remember Matt Bair was with WIBC for a long time before he was the traffic guy. The nice way to put it would be they had to find the right place for Matt. That happens a lot in our business. And boy, did they ever find the right place for Matt as the traffic guy. But, Matt started out, I think, just like doing audio production. And then he ended up being Tony's producer for a very short period of time. Tony's not the easiest guy to work with. And then Jason was Tony's producer for a little bit of time, too. And then Matt was with the Chicks for a while, and then ended up over there doing the traffic. So, I mean, look, guys, we talk about all the traffic stuff. Matt was a big part of WIBC for years before he ended up the traffic guy. So I wanted to do that, give you guys an opportunity to get your thoughts read, your comments about what Matt meant to you. And I know many of you did that in the opening segment, but if you haven't done so yet, still an opportunity. We'll do that coming up here at the top of the hour, brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing. But in the meantime, whether you're buying your first rental property or growing an investment portfolio, financing matters. Gary Tedrow, Verity Mortgage, helps investors explore loan options designed for rental properties and long-term wealth building. As a local mortgage advisor, Gary works one-on-one with investors to help them understand their financing options and create a strategy that fits their goals. Learn more at loansbygary.homes. Loansbygary.homes. Gary Tedrow, Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 179207, equal housing lender. Programming note, coming up here in just a little bit as in tomorrow. All days run together. Coming up tomorrow, Greg Ballard's going to be with us. And we're going to get the latest on the Secretary of State's race. We're going to follow up on this conversation about the boys and girls sports. Does he regret the way he said it? I mean, look, it was patently obvious Greg Ballard does not support men and women's sports. But the way he said it, he allowed some people to take advantage, perhaps, try to paint him that way. And so we'll ask him, like, what was the fallout of that? Do you regret the way you said it? And essentially what he had said at the time was the IHSAA is policing this. There are no cases of men playing women's sports or it being allowed to happen. So if we don't need government, let's not have government. And then, of course, now the England people are trying to say, he was for men and women's sports. He's soft on men and women's sports. So we'll ask him about that and if he would have handled it differently if he had it to do over again. He's got this new, he had this big press conference earlier today. In fact, about top of the 10 o'clock hour. One of his signature items, and he's mentioned this before, he's now officially rolled it out as a policy plan, is this voter guide in which if you're a registered voter, you can get the ballot actually sent to your house so you'll know who's exactly on your ballot. It's a way to increase voter participation. We'll ask him about that. And I'm going to ask him, when are you guys going to get mean? Like all the candidates. When am I going to get some entertainment out of this race? I was excited about this because I thought there'd be some haymakers. We haven't seen any haymakers yet. So Greg Ballard going to be with us on tomorrow's show. Hey, if you haven't done so yet, guys, you can really help us grow the Rob Kendall Show by giving us that little thumbs up. I know if you're watching us live on YouTube, on demand on YouTube, you can help grow the Rob Kendall Show. Hit that little thumbs up. Really helps us. If you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, iHeart, you give us that 5-star review. Really helps us out as well. Now, I don't have my papers here. I've made an egregious mistake. I've been all sorts of discombobulated today. A lot going on, obviously, over the past 24 hours. And so you guys are going to see me on the YouTube feed here. You're going to see me duck out of the camera for just a second and then back into the camera. If you're listening on a podcast, you're not missing a darn thing. How about that? How about that? All right. Interesting. This comes to us from Yahoo. And again, stick around. Coming up, we're going to read your comments, your tributes to Matt Bair. I wanted to give plenty of time to that. I felt he deserved it. You know, usually we take about 30 minutes on the YouTube chat, but I thought for Matt, let's give it some extra time. Maybe we can relive some more memories of Matt coming up here in a little bit. But before that, interesting article from Yahoo. A new 4-day poll has shown just 31% of Americans support U.S. military action against Iran, down from 37% in March and 34% earlier in the month. The survey was done by Reuters and Ipsos. So Ipsos, a reputable polling firm. Obviously, Reuters is a known media outlet. Think about that. Less than 1 in 3 Americans supports what's going on in Iran. The decline, according to Yahoo, was driven by fewer self-identified Republicans backing the conflict. Only 69% of Republican respondents support the war, compared with 77% in March. Now, you may hear 69% and say, well, that's a majority. It is. Amongst like the hardcore people that should be for you. When you're talking about winning an election, there's components to it, right? You got to get, in a swing type of election, you got to get all of your people, and then you got to get the majority of the people in the middle. If all things are equal, you got to pull from the people in the middle. In the case of Iran, when you're losing 31% of your own people, that's a disaster. You're certainly then not getting the people in the middle, and you're obviously not getting the people on the other side. And you've also lost 8%, which is not a number to sneeze at, almost 1/10 of your people since the thing began. Those are your people. As we've seen in this state, a lot of people will be for Republicans no matter what they do. It's hard to get a Republican to say something bad about a Republican on a survey no matter what, and clearly that has happened here. The Yahoo writes, the war has been dragging on Trump's public standing this year, and for the second survey in a row, just 33% of respondents say they approve of the Republicans' performance in the White House, the lowest level in the Reuters Ipsos poll in Trump's first or second term. I think that's key. Things got pretty bad during COVID, and he was still statistically higher than he is now. And it comes back to that conversation that we had yesterday. A big part of how people judge, well, anything. Sports teams are a great example of this too. I'll get to that in a second. Is the idea of optimism. Hey, maybe things aren't the best right now, but it's true with relationships. It's true with sports teams. It's true with politics. People are willing to look past some things they don't like or feel great about if there's optimism on the horizon. Come back to the Morning Again in America of 1984. Sports teams are the same way. If your team's bad, but you got a lot of young players, you're optimistic. I felt that way. I'm a big Bears fan. Year one with the Bears with Caleb Williams wasn't great. Pretty bad. Year two, new head coach, got some other nice young players. You're like, all right, now we're cooking with gas here. And the Bears went to the playoffs. You felt like in year one, because you knew you were probably going to get a new head coach, that this team is going to ascend. So you were willing to sit through year one to get to year two. It made it enjoyable. Hey, Caleb Williams, exciting young player. Team stinks, but he's pretty fun. Same thing with politics. Yeah, okay, maybe things aren't great, but here's the things we put in place, and we think within a year A, B, and C are going to be better. That doesn't exist. Trump has made it abundantly clear he's not changing any strategy on Iran. I guess we're just going to keep getting the truth stretched and told that the strait is open, that things are moving swimmingly, that we've decimated the Iranians. Nobody believes that, but yet we're with the status quo. Which leads me to some 83% of the country thinks the war will go on for, quote, an extended period of time, which is up from 80% earlier this month. So think about the double whammy on this. Only 31% of the people support something. 83% of the people think that what they don't support is going to go on for the foreseeable future. That's the worst possible scenario. In politics, that's the absolute worst possible scenario. People don't like what you're doing, and they don't see you doing anything different for the foreseeable future. And Trump isn't giving any reason. There's no daylight. There's no the end is coming. You know, we talked about how over the weekend they were saying, Monday's going to be D-Day for the Iranian economy. Then you start reading reports, well, they're slow rolling it out. We keep hearing of all of these, it's over, it's done, after we do whatever. And then either we don't do whatever, or whatever we do doesn't actually solve the issue. The American people they're past losing patience. They don't see any benefit with this. Trump never laid out the sort of irrefutable evidence that these guys were going to get a nuclear weapon. He didn't do it. You got to do it from the beginning. You got to lay out to the American people, if you're going to disrupt their lives in the fashion with which he has, why it was inevitable we had to do this, why it was unavoidable we had to do this. He's not done that. That's on him. Trump has been, and we talked about before, Trump is horrible at the post-event sales pitch, which is maybe understandable because in business, once the deal's done, it's done. You got to convince somebody to do what you want to do. And then once you've convinced them, well, what do you care? It's already done. Politics is the exact opposite. The post-event becomes the most important thing because you got to convince people, here's why this thing is good for you. Here's why it's better for you. Here's why you need to vote for your representatives or senators who did this. Trump doesn't want to do any of that, which brings us to independent voters in the poll favored Democrats over Republicans 33% to 19% when asked who they would vote for in congressional elections if the election were held today. That is bad. That's really bad. If the Republicans are indeed down 14% amongst independents, you're going to lose a whole bunch of swing districts. I mean, the question really is, how much are the Republicans going to lose the House of Representatives by at this point? I don't see many people saying there's any chance they actually keep the House. Now, they've done a few things in their favor. They've gerrymandered some of these states further. They got the Supreme Court to throw out the race-based gerrymandering. That'll help them. But if you're only up a couple seats to begin with, and let's say you got yourself 5 to 7 seats out of the redistricting stuff, but you lose 10 to 15, you lose the House of Representatives. And they'll blame Indiana. You watch. Somehow I'll get blamed for it. Inevitably. These numbers are not good, and a lot of it now centers around this Iran conflict because of the price of gas, because of the price of oil, which is driving the price of gas. And Trump, inexplicably, has never made the case for this thing with Iran. He's never told the people exactly what he saw, which led him to believe that within, I guess, I don't know, days, weeks, the Iranians were going to acquire a nuclear weapon. We haven't seen the evidence, and that's why the American people have turned on him. Hey, do you guys have a dog, but you don't have a fenced-in yard? Maybe your HOA, it won't allow a fence. You know, you're like, man, it's really hot in the summer and really cold in the winter, and I don't want to watch Fido every time he's outside. Call our friends at All American Dog Fence, the in-ground fence system designed to keep your dog safe and secure and you indoors and give you peace of mind. All American Dog Fence, they're Pet Stop products made right here in the United States, and they're backed up with a lifetime warranty. Get all the details by calling our friends Kelly and Jeff at All American Dog Fence. 317-862-6606. 317-862-6606. It's totally free, no hassle, no obligation. Or you can check them out on the web, allamericandogfence.com. allamericandogfence.com. And if you mention the Rob Kendall Show, you're going to get an incredible $200 off your order. An incredible $200 off your order once you make one, which you're not obligated to make just by mentioning the Rob Kendall Show. You got nothing to lose, everything to gain. Protect that favorite furry friend with All American Dog Fence. 317-862-6606. All right, guys, the clock has struck 11, which means we made it to hour 3, brought to you by the great John Rust. Thank you to John Rust. That's why we're here for a third hour, bringing you your favorite podcast, The Rob Kendall Show. Speaking of John Rust, if you haven't done so yet, remember, we got the Big Bash. It's coming up Saturday, October the 3rd at the Palatial Rust Estate in the greater Seymour area. A big old celebration, and you, the Rob Kendall Show viewers and listeners, are invited. All you got to do, if you want in on the lunch catered by Double D's, the patriotic music, the antique car show, birthday cake to celebrate Jason's birthday, and a little speech from me on how great the country is. It's totally free to attend. If you want in, all you got to do, RSVP. Send an email, rustforamerica@gmail.com, rustforamerica@gmail.com. All you got to do is tell John, here's my name, here's how many people I'm bringing with me. That way John knows how much food to order for the event. It's going to be a free lunch, free cake, chance to see me, antique car show, and hang out with some of your favorite fellow Rob Kendall Show listeners and viewers. Saturday, October 3rd, Rust Estate in the greater Seymour area. RSVP, rustforamerica@gmail.com. We'd love to see you guys then. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to go through hour 3, and we're going to dedicate it to Matt Bair. We're going to read some of your favorite comments about Matt, about memories with Matt, what he meant to you, the segment we started the show off with. Thought was just kind of seemed like a fitting thing to do to our friend, for our friend Matt Bair, who of course announced yesterday passed away at the very young age of 48 years old. And the chat, as always, will be brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing. We'll take a break. We're going the rest of the way home. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
I'm Anthony Gary. I started Indy Dwell Real Estate because too many friends, family members, and neighbors had real estate experiences that lacked compassion, explanation, and expertise. You deserve someone in your corner with the heart of a teacher, simplifying every step of the buying or selling process. When you hire me, you get me. Start to finish, you'll never be handed off. No stress, no surprises, just the expert guidance and results you deserve. Anthony Gary, Indy Dwell Real Estate. Call or text 317-756-1159. 317-756-1159.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Buying a home or thinking about refinancing? Work with someone local who understands the central Indiana market. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps homebuyers and homeowners explore options for purchasing, refinancing, or even consolidating higher interest debt through their mortgage. Gary's approach is simple, clear advice, and personalized guidance, so you can make confident decisions. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more or get started today. You've got nothing to lose but dollars on your mortgage payment. So call for a free, no-obligation quote, 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow, NMLS number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender.
With a lakefront view in beautiful Brazil, the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage is a little out of the way, but totally worth the trip. Down home, made from scratch food, just like the good old days at Grandma's. When you visit the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage, you'll leave more at peace than when you came in. Open 5 to 8 for dinner on Friday and Saturday, and Sundays 11 to 1:30 for the buffet. You must experience the Honeysuckle Hill Bistro and Cottage. Call 812-443-3003. 812-443-3003.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Hour 3 is upon us, and we're going to read some of your favorite comments, memories about the great Matt Bair tribute to Matt today. Coming up here in just a moment, brought to you by Black Sheep Plumbing. Before that, though, Anthony Gary, one of our fine sponsors. He owns Indy Dwell Real Estate, and he doesn't just show houses. He finds you homes with everything you're looking for, explains your options, and gets your offer accepted without you losing sleep or sanity. With Anthony, you're never going to be passed off to an administrator. You're going to get him from start to finish. He's an expert negotiator. Love to help you achieve your real estate goals. Anthony Gary, with the expert buying strategy and experience, put it to work for you. 317-756-1159. 317-756-1159. Guys, we're just short of 200 likes on the program today. So if you haven't done so yet, if you like what we're doing here, really help us out. Hit that little thumbs up button. Our goal is to get to 200 likes by the end of the show today, and you can help us out. You can help us do that. Hit that little thumbs up, whether you're watching live or on demand. All right, let's go ahead and do this. And like I said, we're going to extend this out a little bit longer than we normally do, but I wanted to make sure we had plenty of time to get your thoughts on Matt Bair. Obviously, this is our tribute to him today. It's our way to say thanks for all the great memories that he gave us. And like I told Jason this last night, I said, man, I was blown away at the response from you guys. Not because I didn't think Matt was a talented guy or a good guy, but, in our industry, sometimes we get thought about other, coworkers, right? And it's a big deal to us, but, are we just interchangeable parts to you guys? And man, the response just across the various people who'd worked with Matt, posting things about Matt, just the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who had a comment or a like or a share. And man, Matt would have it's one of those things, like I said, I wish people like Matt could have lived long enough to read what people said about them when they're not here. I know it's like a weird thing, right? But a guy like Matt, he never saw it. And I told him that numerous times. I said, you are the most important person in this building and you're the most liked person in this building. And man, yesterday, I think you'd be tough if any of the rest of us who had been there for years, if it would have been us, would have got anything better or bigger than what he got, because he was a An awesome and loved dude. So let's get into it. Bring producer Jason in. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Rob. How we doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
All right. Amazing. Two of the biggest names right off the top of your head at WIBC would be Matt Bair and Big John Gillis.
Yeah, traffic guys.
Yeah.
I mean, and you think about it, it's because they were always providing a service.
Mm-hmm. But they're only on a couple minutes an hour.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
There was never like a hot take, right? It's like, here's the traffic, and they were fun in the way they did it.
All right, so let's get to. Oh, I guess we'll get to Black Sheep Plumbing, the sponsor of the program. We certainly always do appreciate John McKinney and Black Sheep Plumbing. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. Black Sheep Plumbing can do the job right at a fraction of the cost of the big guys. And Black Sheep Plumbing says thank you to all military firefighters and police officers with an American Heroes discount. Give John a call. Give him a text. 765-315-7558. 765-315-7558. Black Sheep Plumbing.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks to John.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And okay, so some Matt Bair. Now, my story with Matt Bair, I didn't know him well. But he was always real nice to me. There was only 3 people I liked at WIBC, not including you.
Okay, hang on. Well, you don't like me, so including me.
I get along with you pretty well.
Jason, most of you know, but Jason also worked at WIBC. He was a producer for Tony Katz's Midday Show for a couple of years. We tried to get Jason over on our show, and we thought that'd be good for our show because look at how it's been here, and that just didn't.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah. Anyway, so Jason, you did work in the building with Matt for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they knew that you were on the way out a couple of years before you were on your way out. It's like we put Jason there, then that's just going to be that much more of a headache, and we got 2 of them to deal with.
Yep.
But no, it was. As a producer, you kind of walk in as a lowly producer at WIBC, and I was happy with that. I was just there for some part-time fun, and I was there part-time anyway, and. I met Matt, I was maybe introduced to him, and 2 or 3 weeks later, because I came in for Tony's show, he was always gone by the time I usually got there, and a couple weeks later, I come walking toward the restroom, and he comes walking out. It was almost bumped into him. I was like, oh, hey, and he's like, oh, hey, Jason, how you doing? It's like, wow, you remembered my name. That's pretty wild. I'm like, hey, Brett, how you? And I walked in the restroom, and I'm sitting there like, oh, crap. I called him Brett Bair. Yeah. Brett Bair from Fox. Because at the time, I'm going in WIBC thinking, okay, I need all this political info, so I'm watching everything and listening. I'm, Brett Bair religiously every night. And I came out of the restroom, and I walked out, and I started looking for him in the building, and finally kind of casually passed. I was like, I know it's Matt, not Brett. And he laughed. He's like, everybody calls me Brett. Everybody. So that's my Matt Bair. And he's just the nicest guy in the world. Like I said, one of about 3 people I could stand over there. But
one of the things he was so proud
he was so humble.
Oh, yeah. But he was so proud. And this is an amazing thing, right? And, it's obviously people know about this, and he's been very candid about it. Matt had a real addiction to alcohol that consumed his life at various points. And his final chapter, basically, the past final, 7-8 years, whatever, he got very committed to his sobriety and helping others and dedicating his life. And he did the podcast with Ryan Hedrick, Supporting Sobriety, which I think Ryan, still continues to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ryan's a great guy. He was one of the other.
Yes, he's awesome.
2 of the 3.
Ryan's amazing. Mm-hmm. And Ryan, that Supporting Sobriety podcast is actually nominated for Marconi this year, which is the big award in the radio industry.
That'd be great for him to get that posthumous.
You look at photos of Matt Bair from 10 years ago, and if he'd have committed a crime, you would have never caught him. He looked like physically
kind of transformed his whole physique,
and he was so proud of that. He would walk around the studio in a tank top, and because he's a traffic guy, right? So he's very related. But he was so proud of his guns, and it was what an incredible transformation.
Had some guns. He was a buff dude.
I remember when Matt went to rehab for, I believe it was the final time. And, it was obviously, now he had a incident that, was on air and he finally figured out, he goes, I got to stop this.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when he went and the way he came out and then his life after that. And I just looked at it with amazement. It's like the courage that took. And then you're a public figure but yet you're still telling everybody these, intimate details of your existence to help other people. And what an incredible gift that he gave to so many.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, a very humble guy. And it's just sad that he didn't have, and I know he had family, and that was part of his sobriety, was doing that for, I believe, his mother. Maybe he said that at the one of the WIBC night is where I got that information.
Well, his parents on radio station.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
in
that.
Rochester. That's how he got into radio.
Oh, I
his
did
parents
not know
on radio
that.
station.
Did not know that.
Yeah, they sold it and then they moved to Florida. But yeah, so he was a radio kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he just, but he didn't have, it didn't feel like he had anybody close up here. Ryan Hedrick going through a lot of the same things. Of course, they paired up and did the sobriety podcast. Ryan's married, close family, and I just always felt bad for Matt. He didn't have anybody close, and I think when you're going through something like that, you need a close person to you.
Well, and I would always try to invite Matt, and he never accepted because I don't think he wanted to be a bother. But I would always, Christmas and Thanksgiving, I'd always invite him over to our house, and I think he had other people that he would go do stuff with. But, radio, media, TV, and I've talked about this in the opening segment, it's a very hard industry, especially now, because there's so few jobs, and so many people still want the jobs. And it can be a very mean industry. Like there's a lot of people, including people I've worked with, you've worked with, we won't name any names, that are complete a-holes. And they go out of their way.
We could name names.
Well, we're not going to because this day is about Matt.
Right.
But they go out of their way to not help other people and be distant and be mean.
Radio is a very me business.
It is.
Yeah. It's like you got somebody helping you out, but the whole time they're trying to get your job.
And I've always tried to do this because I'm a middle-aged guy now, which sounds weird to say, but to help other people who are new. Some people don't take the help, but it's like people helped me. You helped me. Jay Baker helped me.
I never wanted your job. That was why it worked.
Well, right.
Well, I have no interest in being Rob Kendall.
But yeah, there's a lot of people like they don't want any part of being Rob Kendall.
No, sir.
But you're right. But Matt Bair was like the exception to that. And there's people like that I'm friends with who, if you were a threat to their job in that business, they'd cut your throat if they thought they had to. They're your friends with you because they're not a threat to your job. I'm not saying it's it's all over the place in the business. It's in TV and all of it, right? But Matt Bair was like the one of the few dudes who you were like, he's not threatened by your success. He's not against your success, because people lie to your face all the time. Oh, I'm so happy you got that job. Oh, I'm so happy. Like, there's going to be a whole bunch of people eventually that if there's a job available that,
right.
Two people are going to get it and then everybody else is not, anytime this happens, and they're going to be like, oh, I'm so happy for success, when deep down they're not. He always was happy for everybody.
Well, you mentioned how he congratulated you on your find with your now wife, then little hottie that you were hanging with in the back room or whatever.
Corporate intern.
Most guys the very next day would have went up to her and talked all kinds of crap about you. And Matt's not that kind of guy.
No, it was so funny because he was so, and there was nothing nefarious going on. I wanted to clarify that.
You did make it sound like there was
no. Like everybody had their
just maybe a so long kiss, perhaps.
Yeah. And
he was cheek, maybe.
He was so, I don't know if he was embarrassed because he was walking around the building or in people's office. I mean, obviously, Matt, you never had to worry about
people's office. I used to do that, actually. I would work the Sunday shift. I would walk around and just look at everything and wander through the offices if the door was open.
There was just Matt was obviously just salt of the earth dude, but I mean, he was so funny, and he had such a great sense of humor. And you are right though, in the sense of this industry can swallow people up because it is so mean. And you have to work so hard to get ahead, and it can consume you. And if you don't have a stable, I call it a home environment. It doesn't mean you have to be married with kids. It doesn't mean any of that.
Right.
But it means you do need a stable,
somebody you can share
surrounding
your problems
with. Right. So, and I do think sometimes Matt struggled with that, but he always in his life, personal life, public life, was trying to help people. And that's just, it's so rare anywhere, much less the radio industry.
Let's get to some of the comments. So see what some of the chatters had to say.
about the unfortunate passing of Matt Bair. D. Chris Chafin, Matt Bair was a shining light at WIBC. I rarely ever listened, but I could tell he was different. It appears he was an incredible human and was loved by many. Yeah, the outpouring is very, very nice to see. Kenneth E. Gold, Matt Bair seemed like a solid guy. Carol 1776 would turn on WIBC on the 5s just to listen to Matt. He was the best. His Road Rage coffee was fantastic. The proceeds he gave to charity, just an all-around kind soul.
Yeah,
sums
that's
it up
perfect.
pretty well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Listener Dave, condolences to all who lost a friend yesterday. Billy M4W, Matt Bair is to traffic as Stan Lear is to news. Always will be the best.
Yeah, it's like, and I was
that's one of those names you'll remember.
Oh yeah, well, you mentioned John
along
Gillis,
with Rob
right?
Kendall.
And yeah, but you like you mentioned John Gillis, and I put Jeff Pigeon in this category, and I put Terry Stacey in this category, and Gary Todd, and Fred Heckman, and WIBC's had many lives. I mean, it was a music station at one point.
The
It wasn't
legends
always
are all gone now.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a talk
From
station,
there.
but you still remember those people 20 years after they were, regular on-air presence. Terry's obviously still in the station, but you still remember them so fondly because of the way they made you feel. And Matt Bair was one of those guys. Like myself, Hammer and Nigel are a little different just to show they do, but myself, Katz, we don't always make people feel good, right? There's a lot of people who don't feel so good, right?
The Rob Kendall feel good show.
But a guy like Matt Bair, he always made you feel good, even when he was giving you bad information. And that you're right, he will live on in and around that radio station as long as it exists in the format that it is, for years with people because of the way he was.
And again, with very sparing minutes every day on the air, wasn't on there for 3 hours a day, being able to suck you into his personality. He was just there having to deal with the other people, and it makes you also want it's I mean, technology the way it is. How long are we going to need traffic guys? How long, just like the weather guy, we really don't need, I don't know. I never watch local weather at all anymore because you got it on your phone, even during a storm or what have you. Same with traffic. It's like before I even start the car, I plug the phone in. First thing I'm doing, if I'm going outside the neighborhood, I'm pulling up the traffic on the phone. That's where I'm getting it. But a lot of people were still very dependent and relied on Matt for that.
Well, and it's interesting too, because our show, we had one traffic update at the beginning of the show before it started, and that's it. But you'd work with him in the mornings, and one of the crazy things about Matt, and this is not an indictment of any of the traffic guys, they're fine people.
Sure.
But they're just really into traffic, and part of it is, for those of you who don't know, most of them are in, like, for lack of a better term, they call it a traffic center. And these guys are just ping-ponging around, and it's not in any way an indictment of them, it's the way the business works now. And they just go from one city to the next. I'm doing traffic.
Lafayette Road.
Yeah, Carmel, and so they just go from literally one radio station to the next all day. Matt, because he was a Hoosier lifer and he was invested in the city and he loved the city, he was giving you that personality to the point where you could do legitimate segments with him, and they did, and they were great.
That morning show definitely benefited immensely from that. Without Matt there, that there would have been
and I think you guys know, Tony and I were never very close, and so we didn't have a lot of conversation. So I am going solely off of what he said today on the air, and he basically alluded to it. That morning show is never going to be the same. Matt, you're never going to find another guy.
That station's never going to be the same.
Well, it's that's
this whole era
no.
is just
there's been a lot of stuff going on there, but Matt Bair, and I said this, I think Matt Bair was the most important guy at WIBC, and I said it for years because of his thread throughout the day and his universal acceptance. And like when Tony wouldn't be in, when Craig was in, and Craig's an awesome guy, he would use Matt essentially as a co-host. What other traffic guy can do that? That's unbelievable.
All right, let's get to some more of the comments. Sue Seifert. Okay, so talking about the sobriety podcast. What's that? The official name?
Supporting sobriety. You can find it on Apple, wherever you get your podcast. You can download it if you want to go listen to old episodes.
Yeah, we'll see what Ryan Hedrick does with that. That's they did a great job together. That podcast, according to Sue Seifert, that podcast was very good. Good for people to come out to show it's possible to change.
That podcast, and because I used to have those guys on. I was a regular listener to that podcast because it was actually good radio. Like it wasn't just like it's going to appeal to people who have been through addiction or have addicts in their family. It was actually good radio. Like it was fascinating to sit there.
They were good, very good at it. Both those guys.
Yeah, it was
neither one of them talk show host, but very good at that podcast.
Yeah.
All right, Jan Hatch, sad day. Old Guy, Kansas. Well, KS. It was called Supporting Sobriety Podcast. He and Ryan Hedrick were doing a wonderful service.
Yeah.
There we have it. Rusty, R.I.P. Matt Bair. All Might is here. Wow, I was a fan. MLM Warriors, Matt Bair will be missed. Driver, Matt will be missed, but his impact will be felt for years, if not generations to come. Kenneth Eadgold, I'm going to miss Matt. I wish I would have met him in person. Debbie Holcomb, I still can't believe he's gone. And Mad Duck, such a sad day. Yeah.
You know, one of the things I wanted to say was I thought Hammer and Nigel did a nice job yesterday. So
when did the news break on this?
What's that?
When did the news break?
Well,
I know you texted me and said keep it under your hat, but I mean, then it wasn't too much longer.
Yeah, I mean, it was early afternoon is when I got it, and then I knew they were going to announce it on IBC, and I said, look, I don't work there anymore, but that's not my place to announce that. That's their place to do that, and it's first of all, it's what Matt deserved, but it's also a professional courtesy. That's where he worked. They should announce it. I thought they did a very nice job. I thought Hammer and Nigel to have to do that. I mean, we have a day. I've had a day to process it and deal with it and whatever. But they've got to do it basically in real time.
Yeah,
and
I mean, you're working with a guy, then all of a sudden he's not there.
Right, who's literally still a part of your show.
Right.
So,
all right, Timothy Sears, R.I.P. Matt Bair, you will be missed. Driver, the WIBC family is splintered by its parents' actions. The kids, host, and us are okay, and we come to support them in this time of grief. Basically saying, yes, we do support them. The Edge, Matt will be missed.
Edge, isn't he? You too?
No, I don't believe it's the same Edge.
Oh.
It's something. It's a gobbledygook of consonants and one vowel.
Very good.
An E. Matt will be missed. He already is. Yes. Andy Engel, Matt was great. I'm so sorry to hear he's gone at such a young age, and that's the other tragic part. Very young.
Yeah.
Age.
And
I didn't really have 40. Was he 48?
48. And you see a guy.
I thought he was younger than that.
Well,
I mean, he just carried himself as a young, cool, hip guy.
He aged in reverse. He was one of the age in reverse people, like a Tom Brady, where he actually. I mean, you look at a photo. This is amazing about his journey, the sobriety stuff. You look at a photo of Matt Bair from 10 years ago, and you look at him now, and you would struggle to recognize it's the same person. Like that.
I've never seen him other than being the built.
No, I mean he was not that when I first started working there, and guys like C.J. Miller and some other people had posted old photos. C.J. was the longtime WIBC news guy. He's been gone several years, not physically gone, like gone from WIBC, and he posted some old photos, and it was like you forget where this guy was, and then what he got his life to, and that's why you just you hate to see it at any time. But certainly, the guy who'd done all this great stuff and had so much greatness in front of him and it's the people that he was helping because he had dedicated his life to helping people in need. And now those people won't be able to experience that help from him.
There's something about, and again, with traffic, there's something about a service versus a guy that you hear every day. It's kind of like you understand the lingo, you understand the phrasing, and because the traffic is so quick, this happened here, this is going on there, that's going on there, bypass this here, and it can go in one ear and out the other. And you're like, what did I just hear?
Right.
But with Matt, it was slowed down. It was
it's like you knew his dialect and that you were able to absorb it a little more than just a generic voice coming in with, this is going on, that's going on, this is going on. Hey, traffic's brought to you by, well, wait a minute, what happened? Can you repeat that?
They made one of the, I think this was the first one we did, the night with WIBC. They made, everybody comes out and all the shows do a 20-minute thing or whatever. And there's like competition amongst the shows, and it's like any work environment. There's people that get along better with others, that have more synergy with others, right?
Yes.
So, but you do have in any, when there's competition amongst the shows. And there were some people who loved Hammer and Nigel. Maybe they weren't as big into Tony Katz, or they were big into Tony Katz and they didn't care for me. But they did this video of Matt Bair. It was like a horror movie where he's following Matt Hiblin around, giving him the traffic everywhere he goes, no matter where Matt Hiblin tries to get away from him.
Uh-huh.
And they played this video. I mean, it's a very well-produced video to promote the traffic. And that thing got the biggest applause of the night. And then he comes out, and it's like this standing ovation for him. And we're looking around like, he gets more than us, and it wasn't even close.
Well, yeah, he came out with this, and like who was Katz was doing his thing, cigar or whatever, and Bair just kind of comes walking out behind him like a skit with his bench press, sets it up while Katz is talking, sets it up, does his thing, goes over and sits down and starts bench pressing. That was the latest WIBC, or the last one I went to, which I guess would have been 2 or 3 years ago. But and the way he just pulled it off, just as he's not a comedian, but just he pulled that off. Very funny guy.
He was very self-deprecating, and in our business, there's some people that take themselves way too serious.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People wanna feel like the host is one of them, and
not above them.
Well, right. I mean, and there's some people who do think they are above the audience, and Matt was like right there with them the whole time and was very self-deprecating, and people caught on to that.
Mm-hmm. Driver, how much worse will Indy traffic be without him here to help keep drivers sane in the mess Indy is for traffic? Yeah, and again, just that calming voice.
Well,
recognizable voice.
And I'm not, I don't think I'm giving any trade secrets here. IBC did traffic differently than every other station because of Matt.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other stations do traffic, and there's nothing wrong with it.
And they use a service. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. They don't have, most stations don't have a guy dedicated to sit there for, to do 3-minute traffic updates.
You're not going to replace that. You're not, you can't. It's like, remember when Rush died, where they're like, okay, we're going to put these people on here. And it's like, why?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, you're doing those people a disservice. I mean, they want the time slot, right? They want the,
Now, I will say, I did go back about a month ago and listen to, was it Buck and
Clay and Buck?
And there's not a great reception where I'm at for the station they're on. Maybe that'll change soon. But the one thing that did hit me with it, they still use the bell going into the break, that Rush Limbaugh EIB network, I forget, like doom, or whatever it is, and that brought back memories. That was like a very nostalgic thing that hit, but it's not Rush.
And who knows? I'm sure that, and it shouldn't have even been a thought in their mind yet. But you're not going to replace that, and why even try? And it's probably the best thing would be to go to a more traditional traffic.
Oh, I would imagine
presentation.
They won't put the money.
I mean, you can't replace Matt Bair. You're just not going to be able to do it.
The Chris Chafin. If WIBC was a Christmas tree, Matt was the shining light tree topper.
That's a good description.
Sorry for the loss for those that knew him. Charles Ludi. When you lose a spouse, it's incredibly difficult to go on living in the same space. I imagine the same will be true for a lot of the folks at WIBC studios. Imagine very empty today.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing. Everybody deals with grief differently. Everybody processes grief differently, and everybody wears it. What you see publicly may not be what's going on internally. So, yeah, it's going to take those guys a while to probably get over that, because it's not just a coworker. You're always said, like, if you, and this is not in any way to disparage somebody who works at Walmart, If you are in charge of stacking the Oreos at Walmart and you make a mistake, your boss comes to you and says, hey, you made a mistake, you got to go fix that, and you go fix it. Other than the people who may have been trying to pull the Oreos at the moment, you don't get a lot of, which Jason has his Oreos there, perfect timing. You don't get a lot of attention to that. You make a mistake in that industry, thousands of people hear you make
absolutely
a mistake,
well,
right?
How many times have you gone home at night thinking, oh, man, I shouldn't have said that, or I should have said this differently, or why did I even bring that up? And
so to deal with that the way Matt did, and I think it's another thing about Matt's comeback's probably not the right word to use, but it's the word I'm going to use, with his final bout with sobriety, is he worked in a high-pressure position. When we would do a segment, we have 7 to 10 minutes to tell a story. He had 30 seconds to get a whole bunch of stuff out. And he only had a couple opportunities an hour. We do a bad segment, come right back and go again, or, whatever.
Right.
And he, given all, a lot of times stress, and, Ryan Hedrick can talk a lot about this, stress is a trigger for people with addictions to fall off the wagon or, get back into bad habits or whatever. And Matt just didn't. He thrived in it. And I always told him, I said, what you do is way harder than what I do because you got to be fast, right? And you only got a couple opportunities to do it,
right?
And it's real important stuff you're doing. So I thought that was amazing.
Golf Tango X-Ray. Matt had the amazing ability to be every bit as entertaining as whatever host he was working with without ever upstaging them. He definitely came across as a friend to everyone.
That's perfect. And, that's one thing that Matt was able to do. And this, it's hard to work with a variety of people. It is.
Yeah, right.
Like, you got your style, you got your environment in which you thrive. It's really hard. And, I found this out because my first job at IBC was as the fill-in guy for all the shows. And a good fill-in person tries to some extent create the person you're filling in for. Right? I mean, you're not going to be that person, but people get used to an expectation of this is what I'm going to hear during the show. Tony, more political than Hammer and Nigel. You don't, and Matt, you could put him anywhere.
You filled in for Tony?
Me?
They allowed you to fill in for Tony?
A whole bunch at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
That's before he got to know me.
No.
My first job was the full-time fill-in guy. I think they figured out they were paying me so much they might as well actually make me a full-time employee and get their money's worth. So then they hired me to produce for the Chicks.
Right.
And then I was the producer for the Chicks and the full-time filling. Oh, yeah, I was when they hired, so that's when they brought Craig Collins in, was when they gave me basically the full-time show. They were like, he can't be the filling guy anymore.
Right. Well, Tony got to know you.
That's
he's not filling in for me anymore. Driver. Right on, Rob. You can't replace a person who cares with an apathetic person. You need to seek someone who cares and doesn't want it to be all about him. He was taking joy in the service in service to others, in his service to others.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, didn't try to take away. Wino Gina, great. My face all red and puffy in the office today. Sorry about that. The Chris Chafin, raise his hand. What was Rob doing at work? Okay, well, that was the story Rob told about being caught in the back room with his wife.
Nothing nefarious.
Yes.
Nothing. Everybody was, fine.
Okay. Miko, R.I.P., Matt. Drew, beautifully said, Rob. Okay, another Andy Engel. Matt walked in on Rob getting some IT support, as it were. All right. Driver, good, respectful opening, Rob. Josh Richardson, that was an amazing tribute, Rob. Matt was a fantastic person. He will be missed by so many. Almond Joy Tempo, that was beautiful, Rob. R.I.P. Matt. This is not about Rob, but you did a great job. Some people can make it about them, but you did a great job there making it about Matt. And I know that was genuine. Rob was a big fan of Matt, a good friend of Matt Bair.
And look, people process grief differently, right? I mean, I'm incredibly sad about the passing of Matt. I mean, to the point where, when I had to tell my wife yesterday, she was really broken up about it because she obviously knew Matt and had worked there. But, it's like the first thing we started doing when we started talking about Matt was we laughed about that incident because of the way Matt handled it. He was such a good, funny guy, and that's what he leaves behind. So I'm just not I looked at it as my job is to come in here today, and they said it on IBC, or Tony said it, I think it was. Matt would want the show to go on. Mm-hmm. That's what he would want people to do their job.
And he probably wouldn't want people talking about him.
Well, no,
he would,
this
praise.
He would be mortified about how much people have talked about him in the past 24 hours.
Right.
But
he was very bashful would be a good way to describe him.
But yes, he was I would call him a good friend and a guy who you could talk to anything about. One of the things about Matt was that you could trust him, and that's very rare in this business, that if you told him something, he wasn't going to go around the office and talk about it.
Right.
No, I mean, I wasn't like admitting to heinous crimes or something with him, but you could talk about your personal life, and he was a phenomenal person to just lean on because, and I think a big part of it was because he was successful in an environment, having to go to those meetings and recovery where people have to reveal stuff about themselves, and he understood the importance of being a listener and giving advice and knowing that you could trust him. Ryan Hedrick is the same way. I talk to Ryan Hedrick all the time.
Yeah,
exact same way.
Yeah, Ryan Hedrick and Matt, both kind of guys that in radio, it's odd to have people that aren't always talking about themselves. It's a very ego-driven business. It has to be. You have to have an ego. You can't. I mean, you have to have confidence. I guess you could say confidence instead of ego, but a lot of that goes hand in hand. Matt, I mean, he was confident, but he didn't have an ego. I mean, it was like he'd come in, he would ask you about you. He would ask me about me. And I'm like, dude, I want to know about you, and everything. And it was just like, no, there's I have nothing to tell about me, and that's certainly the way Hedrick is as well. Let's see. Did we get to, Kenneth Eagle? That was awesome, Rob. Charles Ludy. Someone said he rode, quote, he rode with me to work every day and he got me home every afternoon. He will be deeply missed. Robert Young, great tribute to Matt this morning, Rob. Ethan Hatcher. Ethan works with Matt. That was a beautiful tribute to the beloved giant among men, the legendary traffic beast, Matt Bair, who will be missed by all. Yep, there we go.
And don't you wish, I was talking with somebody that worked with Matt, and I said, I just wish, because he was very, he did not see himself the way other people saw him. And he was like, dude, I wish without your passing, you could see this because it might have changed your whole outlook on life, period, right? Because people loved you. And I tried to tell him this all the time, and he never would accept it.
Timothy Sears, this is what I love about Rob. He always speaks from his heart, sending prayers to Matt's family, friends, and co-workers. C.M. Tharp, I have cried several times over Matt. Such a great guy. Wino Gina, thanks for making my face poofier now. Maybe I can get away with wearing my sunglasses in the office. Maybe they will think I'm really hungover. Well, it'd probably be better if they thought you were mourning someone. That would probably be better for you there. Let's see. Shrog Sandwich, she got in late. Saddened by Matt's passing, prayed for his family, and that he did not suffer. And again, we kind of know some details. We don't know details. We're not going to spread details. That'll be up to the family at this point. They asked for the privacy, and so no need to pass judgment or speculate or anything like that. Just the guy was just the guy was a great guy. Kevin Branham, thank you. Okay, well, that's okay. So that C Mills, I've been a bit depressed lately, and hearing about Matt just made my heart sink.
Yeah.
So C Mills going through some problems there as well. Everybody give a shout out to C Mills. So I think that kind of runs the gamut there. Most of that covers what a lot of the chatters, the regular, the OGs. A lot of them were WIBC listeners. Maybe not now. They came over. A lot of problems there after Rob departed, and a lot of people don't listen anymore. But but still, Matt, you could not have listened to WIBC without Matt being one of those voices in your head.
Hopefully they'll do some sort of, celebration of life or something. And look, I know it's probably hard because there'd be so many people that want to go, but man, I would just love if there was a way they could do something where the audience could come if they wanted to, because I think that'd be great for his family to see, the not that they need affirmation of that, but the impact that he had, because it would be incredibly well attended.
Mm-hmm. All right, so do we probably want to leave the chat with that, right? I think
I think that's good for today. Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of good one-liners, a lot of good stuff in there about the topics today, but I think that that would kind of be a strange transition.
I think
do
we're good.
that. So, and we've got 3 different interviews today, so
Yes.
that we got to get taped here after the show. So, well, it is still early though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay,
Give you time to set up.
Yeah,
People will be fine.
Is it really? Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess we can go ahead and. You want to go ahead and bail out of that one? All right. So again,
I got some more stuff to do here.
Oh, you got some more stuff. Okay. I was going to say, man, we can't end at 22. We got some
it's fine.
Some mileage that we can
I got some stuff.
Still use up.
I got
there,
this.
So. All right. Well, that'll do it for me in the chat. Great job, chatters. Great tribute. Great job, Rob. Speaking of Matt earlier, and again, R.I.P. Matt. It's it was great. I knew him sparingly, but it was great to get to know him, and all I have to say is great things about him. So that'll do it for the chat. Thanks to John Russ for the third hour. Thanks to Black Sheep Plumbing for the chat. Send it back to Rob.
Guys, got a masonry color mismatch, previous repair catching your eye, not happy with the brick color on your home and ready for a total makeover? Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants offer specialized masonry staining and recoloring. Whether you want to seamlessly blend repairs or completely transform your home's exterior, want to build something new? Bramwell Mackay's 40-year master masons design and construct custom patios, sidewalks, outdoor summer kitchens, archways, entryways, and more. Bramwell Mackay, beauty built to endure. All right, so we got a big week coming up for you guys. Jason mentioned we got a bunch of stuff going on tomorrow. Greg Ballard is going to be here. We will also have a new edition of Pigskin Plays and Props, our fun little look at the sports betting world that Kenny, Brent, and myself do. That'll be dropping or scheduled to drop tomorrow morning. So you'll be able to check that out. The videos tab on our YouTube page, in addition to all the on-demand platforms, it'll show up in your feed there: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, all the places. Of course, we got Statehouse happenings. It'll be scheduled to drop for you on Thursday morning, and then. It'll actually be, it's going to be an interesting interview. Lee Markham is going to be with us later this week, scheduled to air on Friday. Lee was the guy who ran Jack's Donuts. And, of course, Jack's Donuts was this incredible Indiana success story. It was his family business, and he just blew it up, a decade ago, and it became this Jack's Donuts all over the state. And you guys may remember Jack's Donuts fell on some really hard times, and some things didn't go well with Jack's Donuts. And Lee personally, faced some hard times. Lee's going to be with us. He's pulling the nose up, or trying to. He's got a new business venture that he's getting into, and so we wanted to kind of talk about that story. What happened with Jack's Donuts? Why did it go south? What did he run into? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with adversity? And so that's going to be a really interesting conversation coming up later for you guys later this week. So a lot of great stuff to get to, and that's what we try to do here on the Rob Kendall Show, is give you Indiana news, politics, and government you're not going to get anywhere else. So, want to just close by saying thank you to each and every one of you guys. With Matt's passing yesterday, it's a great opportunity for me to be able to reach back out to you guys and let you know how special you are to me, to Jason, to what we do every day. And, one of the things, as we saw with Matt's passing, the outpouring from the people is it's easy to lose sight in this world about, the sort of impact that you might have, and the people that love you and care about you and what you do every day. And I just want to let you guys know that from the bottom of our heart, we appreciate you, and we consider you guys like family. And Matt's passing is a reminder, an opportunity to just sort of remind yourself you never know how much time you have here, that your time here is not guaranteed, and you need to value every second of it. You need to cherish every second of it. Because, Matt was more than just a radio personality. He was somebody's brother. He was somebody's son. He was somebody's friend. He was somebody's confidant, a lot of people's confidant. And, I know a lot of those people are really wishing that they had another opportunity to tell Matt what he meant to them, that he could have heard it, that he could have experienced it. And they're, obviously they're doing it all over the internet, on WIBC, all over here. But Matt's not here for them to say it, to his face. So I wanted to take an opportunity just to let you guys know how much I appreciate you, Jason appreciates you, and what you mean to us, whether you're with us every day Whether you're with us for 3 hours every day, whether you're with us for 30 minutes every day, whether you're with us once a week, once a month, whatever it is, whether you've been with us for 10 years or 10 days, we are very thankful for you. We consider you like family. That's what we've tried to do here on the Rob Kendall Show, is create a family-like environment. It's why we do the YouTube chat every day. It's why we give it such prominence. And part of that, too, is not just for us. It's for you guys. And I know many of you have made real friends out of that. People that you now share meals with, you go places with, you talk to on the regular. Some of you guys share phone numbers. And that's ultimately sort of what media should be all about. It's entertaining people, but it's bringing people together. The world feels really distant a lot of the times. In weird ways, we're never closer together or more connected, I guess you'd say, because of the internet, social media. But in a lot of ways, we feel further, more distant than ever before. I talk a lot about that, like with communities and the growth of communities and how it used to be. When I was growing up, I know for many of you too, that every community here in central Indiana or across our state, it had its own identity. I'm from so-and-so, or I'm from somewhere, and people knew what that meant. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good, but people knew what that meant. And with the explosive growth of the communities, people are living closer together than ever before, but they're not closer than ever before. In fact, they're further apart than ever before, and a lot of those communities have lost their identities. And so, that's one of the things we try to do here is bring people closer together, connect people, give them that sense of connection. It's why the tagline is Indiana news, politics, and government. You're not going to find anywhere else. Why we focus on Indiana, because we love Indiana and we love the people that make up our state. And, there's never going to be another Matt Bair. And I don't think WIBC is going to try to make another Matt Bair, because they're going to fail if they do. And so remember, each and every one of us is unique. We have special qualities. We have things that make us different from everybody else. And whether you're on the radio or not, whether you're on a podcast or not, whether you're on television or not, you're special. And enjoy the time you have, make the most of the time you have, and spend the time you have giving back to other people like Matt Bair did. So that's going to do it for us today. God bless you guys. Thank you. Love you, Matt. Hope to see you someday on the other side, my friend. That is going to do it for us today. For producer Jason, I'm Rob Kendall. You've been watching, you've been listening to The Rob Kendall Show.